Okay, so I've been making these documentaries for a little while now, and I've begun to realize something. No matter the video, no matter the subject matter, one man's name connects all of them together. One name has destroyed legacies, gate-kept happiness and success, brought a scourge of pain to every single NFL fan base through pure dominance outside of his own team. And that man is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., the man they call the GOAT. And believe me when I say that the story of Tom Brady is one that I think that every single person should know, not just for football reasons at all, just for life in general. But listen, all I can really say is I promise this video will be worth your time. I understand the time length is a little crazy, but I truly do believe this is the best video I've ever made on this channel. And yeah, Tom and his friends will be joining us. So without further ado, let's get right into the full video on Tom Brady's entire legendary NFL career. From the very beginning, Tom Brady had a unconventional upbringing as opposed to other future all-time great NFL talents. For example, Patrick Mahomes' father was an MLB player for a decade, and while Tom Brady was getting lipstick put on him by his three older sisters, a young Peyton Manning was already being formed into the legendary sheriff we'd come to know, with a former second overall pick quarterback as a father and two brothers who shared the same dreams as him. And although Tom Brady started focusing on baseball, football would soon completely consume the man. And according to Tom himself, it took just watching one game and one play, and he knew what his destiny was. And so the grind began. And at Sarah High School, Tom already showed signs of being special. Not really from his play on the field, which was pretty damn solid, but he wasn't an amazing athlete by any stretch of the imagination. But his work ethic seemed downright psychotic. The guy was fucking obsessed with getting better, and in all parts of the game too, with stories even dating back, again, to his early high school days, saying that he was rarely satisfied, and after having a poor 5-dot drill time, the dude spray painted the dots onto his garage floor so he could do the drills at home and be a little bit faster with it come time for the next season. But again, it looked like Tommy Boy was gonna be a ball player, but baseball instead of football, and in 1995, Tom was even drafted by the Montreal Expos 507th overall, drafted next to other heavy hitters like good old Wes Denning and Jake Steinkemper. And one of my favorite sports facts in general is that technically there was a year where Tom Brady and Michael Jordan were both involved in semi-pro baseball, kind of, as Jordan, playing minor league baseball in early 95, was sort of in the same league as Tom Brady, who was drafted in mid-1995. But in football specifically, a young Tom Brady was rejected. He was a backup quarterback in high school for a lot of his years, and he was a guy that didn't really have any outstanding qualities whatsoever. He wasn't fast or athletic. There wasn't much that Tom was putting on tape that an average scout could see potential in the guy, which is why even after high school, coaches weren't interested in him, which led to him going to Michigan, where he was also just going to be a backup if he even made the team. Now, this was a good program, don't get me wrong. In 97, with the Heisman winner Charles Woodson, they went 12-0 and were dominant, but Brady was never expected to be a part of that, and, well, he wasn't. But while he was waiting on the bench behind Brian Griese, the quarterback, whose dad was a Hall of Fame QB as well in Bob Griese, Tom was, upset. And this, as you'll come to realize, is the last thing you want to do to Tom Brady. Do not make him have a chip on his shoulder. He will make you pay. Now, I'm sure you yourself have been in a ton of situations where someone's disrespected you, and you wanted to prove them wrong, right? Now, when this happens to Tom Brady, he will make it his sole mission in life. Dude signs a binding vow with the football gods that he will destroy whoever needs to be proved wrong. And this is one of those few traits that makes Tom Brady, Tom Brady. He is completely consumed by football. He loves it more than anything, for better or for worse. And through this constant disrespect that he's been facing and will face throughout his career, he developed this competitiveness and fire in him that just isn't born to normal people. And the first victim of this was well, his fucking coach. Lloyd Carr at Michigan kinda didn't have Tom on his radar. And you know what? He was right, because Greasy was a better quarterback than him at the time. But after 2 years of almost no playing time, Tom briefly thought about transferring to Cal to be closer to home, but then something came over him. And he decided that he would face the challenge in front of him and told his coach, "I'm gonna prove to you that I'm the best quarterback here. Watch me." And so, Brady won the job and had a really good junior year. But just when he beat one boss, another one spawned in. The only thing was, Brady loved this. This is a guy who always wants another challenge, who doesn't just feel content with where he is. Whoever wants smoke is gonna catch these hands and more. And so, when sophomore quarterback Drew Henson emerged as a competitor to Brady's job, Tom had blood pooling in his eyes and fucking foam coming from the mouth, and it was time to go to war. Now, Coach Carr decided to alternate quarterbacks because although Tom Brady was better, if Henson didn't play, he was going to leave football to go play baseball, which he eventually kind of did. But yeah, this was not a good decision, and this really fucked up Tom's draft stock, as Drew Henson would dig the team into a hole, then Tom would come in and save them. That was kind of the script this season. And again, it is crazy that Tom's draft profile wasn't stronger, because I firmly believe that if they decided to bench Henson and start Tom Brady all season long, no quarterback controversy, I don't see how Tom would have gotten out of the second round, because his profile was, like I said, really, really strong. In the Orange Bowl, 1999 versus Alabama, Tom faced his toughest test yet, as he was down 28 to, not 28 to 3, but fucking imagine if it was. That'd be awesome. Nah, it was 28 to 14, but yeah, anyways, Tom Brady did Tom Brady things, and he had a casual fourth quarter comeback and had 370 yards and 4 touchdowns in the most important game of his career, in the last game of the season too, on national TV. Like, how does this not skyrocket a player up draft boards? I understand the raw sexual tension between an offensive line coach and a 290-pound 1990s fullback prospect and the alluring stench that comes from it, but come on, New Orleans, your quarterback was fucking Jeff Blake. Did we really need to take a fullback in the 4th round when Tom Brady was on the board? And I get it. It's easy in hindsight to be like, look at how dumb everyone, including New England, was to miss out on Tom Brady. But like, yeah, they were a bit dumb, because the signs were there. Tom Brady had all the intangibles you could want in a quarterback. He had 4 comeback wins on his resume. He faced the second hardest schedule in college football. He was successful and a leader, even without consistent playing time, because basically politics within the organization. He was respected. He was smart. He was good at leading receivers open. He was poised in the pocket and accurate, and he improved, too, from his junior year to his senior season, as his yards per attempt stayed constant, his average yards per attempt jumped from 7 to 7.7, his touchdown rate increased by 1.1%, and his interception rate dropped by 1%. This is all signs of a developing quarterback, but we all know why he was truly picked where he was, right? Or at least that's how the story goes. After it came out that Tom enjoyed watching femboy ASMR videos, which I know is true, okay? You can't hide from me, Tom. I found you. So yeah, there was obviously that. That totally happened, and don't ask me how I found that. But also on top of that, his actual combine was a bit rough. I mean, here he is running the 40, looking like he's chasing after his golden retriever while screaming, "Slow down there, Buster." But yeah, back then, the NFL really put a preference on quarterbacks having a massive amount of athletic ability over the intangibles, because the thought process was, and to some extent still is with guys like Drew Aller and Anthony Richardson, that we can coach the rest, but we cannot coach raw athletic ability, which can be true, but that doesn't mean you have to disregard the other skills someone such as Tom Brady might have. And the duality of Tom Brady and another quarterback prospect in this year's draft, Giovanni Carmazzi, is the perfect example of this trap. You already know what Tom has going for him, but Giovanni was his opposite in basically every regard. Tom was a smart quarterback from a big school, while Giovanni was an athletic freak from a tiny school. He was 6'3", 230 pounds, had a cannon for an arm, and everything you could want, but he just didn't have the brain for it. He wasn't dumb, he was smart in class and did well in the Wonderlic test, but the NFL's just a whole new beast. And so the 49ers took Giovanni in the 3rd round, and he never even played a game in the NFL after injuries and a constant failure to grasp NFL speed and offenses ended up taking its toll on him. And while Giovanni went in the 3rd round, there were more quarterbacks to go too before Tom. Some were fair. Chad Pennington was simply a better prospect in pretty much every way, but come on now. Some of these were legitimately indefensible. The Cleveland Browns took Spurgeon Wynn, the last of the 6 quarterbacks to be taken in front of Brady. But this dude had a 50% completion rate in college. But to their credit, it really worked out for Cleveland to not take Tom, because in his 6 games as a rookie, he had a passer rating of 40. So that's just fantastic. Good shit, Cleveland. And so, after all that agonizing waiting, it was time. In the 2000 draft, a grand total of 198 picks went by, and none of them, even all together, could equal Tom Brady. Hell, as of now, there is only one player drafted in front of Tom Brady in the Hall of Fame, that being Brian Urlacher. Just one. And I'd argue that Tom Brady has 3 separate Hall of Fame careers in his 20s, 30s, and 40s, which I'll get more into in the end of this video. But yes, I believe this guy has more Hall of Fame careers individually than his entire draft class. And with the 199th pick in the 2000 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots selected Tom Brady, ignoring every scouting report on the man entirely. Now, to say nobody believed in Tom is slightly misleading. Obviously, no one could ever predict the monster he'd become, but Patriots quarterback coach Dick Revine loved Tom and even called him the best quarterback in the draft, but sadly he passed away in 2001 before Tom was able to come into his own form. So the one guy who believed in him more than anyone on the planet, other than possibly his family, wasn't able to be proven right by Tom himself. And so Tom's New England arc began. And right away, he showed everyone in New England what type of guy he was. He may have been the 6th round pick, but he was the most competitive and motivated dude in the entire damn building, and famously told Robert Kraft that he is the best fucking decision this organization has ever made. But he didn't even make the team yet, so this is, pretty bold of him to say, and it wasn't looking like he was gonna make the team, because the Patriots already had 3 quarterbacks on the roster, one of them being Drew Bledsoe, their franchise quarterback who took them to a Super Bowl a few years prior, and he was still playing some really good football, and recently was gifted the largest contract in NFL history. So, not an ideal situation for Tom Brady. Tom didn't give a singular shit though, and made the team anyways, impressing the Dark Lord of the Sith, Bill Belichick, enough to take him on as an apprentice, which meant the Patriots would carry 4 quarterbacks all year long, a super rare situation in NFL history. And now the story goes that Tom Brady just never put on his helmet his entire rookie season. But again, that's not entirely true. And I would argue that even right away, like in his rookie season, we started to see just small glimpses of what he could become. In the 2000 preseason, the Patriots took on the Detroit Lions, and this truly was the beginning of Tom Brady. Because like I said, Drew Bledsoe was still here, and although this fiery, competitive hunk of a man that was still fiending to let some of that steam out, he wasn't gonna have a chance to do so in the regular season. And so, this was his chance. With the game tied at 10-10, with less than a minute to go, Tom Brady was at New England's 31-yard line and had to go the length of the field to win the game. So it all started on that fateful 31-yard line, and Tom Brady did what he would do for the rest of his career. Just like in college, Tom took the Patriots calmly down the field, already having incredible patience and game sense to manage the clock, and went 59 yards down the field with time to spare. And when the dust settled, Tom Brady jogged off the field and swapped places with the Patriots' one and only executioner. And Adam Vinatieri came out onto the field and nailed the game-winning kick. So woohoo! Good shit, Tom. I'm so proud of you, man, and so were his teammates. They probably didn't care about his own little personal accomplishment, but hey, they gave him a DVD player because they were thankful they didn't have to play a preseason overtime game, so now he had some top-notch technology to watch his favorite guilty pleasures. Anyways, yeah, but besides that preseason game, his rookie year was easily the quietest of his career because, well, he didn't play. But he got his first NFL action in a Week 13 Thanksgiving Thanksgiving blowout loss to the Detroit Lions, weirdly enough. And so, in his first NFL action ever, he almost threw a pick and had his first ever completion called back, but he eventually went 1 for 3 for 6 yards. And the first completion Tom Brady ever had went to Rod Rutledge, which is like the only thing on his Wikipedia page that he caught Tom's first ball. But besides that one game, Tom never saw the field. And instead, his teammates got to know him as a person for the first time. And yeah, his competitiveness bled into everything. There were stories where he would get beaten in a video game or something and just destroy the controller, toss it against the wall, and would demand rematches until he won. And in due time, that mentality would finally be able to spill over onto a real NFL field. And so, driving his yellow Jeep Wrangler, Tom pulled up to training camp and beat out, well, everyone, I guess? Apparently, Tom impressed so much that they cut quarterback Michael Bishop, who almost won the Heisman in 1999. And then he got elevated to quarterback 2 on the depth chart after Bill Belichick said he felt confident he could take over given a Bledsoe injury, because he basically did more work than anyone. He was respected by everyone on the team, he has natural leadership, and the guy put on 10 pounds of muscle too. But the craziest part is, not only did he beat out both backups, but he beat out Drew Bledsoe too. According to Sheev Palpatine, Tom Brady was actually better than Drew Bledsoe in training camp, and he felt as if he gave the team the best chance of winning football games. But Belichick really had no choice. I mean, again, Bledsoe was on a 10-year, $100 million deal, the largest contract ever at that point. You can't just bench a player like that, and it's not like Bledsoe was that bad. Tom was just exceeding every expectation placed on him. But for now, Bledsoe was the guy, and Tom, he would wait his chance. But it looked like that shot would come soon, because Belichick is just absolutely insane. And in week 1, just week 1, the Patriots lost by just 6 points to the Bengals, and Belichick allegedly said, "We fucking suck. We're horrible. I hate myself. Our quarterback blows ass, and I'm gonna get fired in like week 14. Now, I don't know why Drew Bledsoe's catching strays. I mean, he wasn't amazing, but he had 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers, so that seemed a bit unfair, but okay, I guess. But then week 2 came, and Bill Belichick was a happy man. Not because of the game itself, they got smacked by the team that he had coached for like 3 hours before he resigned on a fucking napkin, but because Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Now, it's a little bit of a, hyperbole there. He wasn't actually happy, but Bledsoe was playing some horrendous football in the first half. He finished the day with 2 picks, but he should have had about 4, and New England couldn't get anything going. And on 4th and goal from the 1, they had a delay of game penalty, but then on a simple play where Drew Bledsoe scrambled out right, the entire world changed forever. Now, everyone likes to say, oh, what if Mo Lewis never hit Drew Bledsoe? Then Tom Brady would have never happened. He would have never played in the league. But I disagree. I feel like with the way that Belichick felt about Bledsoe and Brady, Tom was going to get his chance, and that work ethic was always just going to bleed over. I think this Mo Lewis hit on Drew Bledsoe that just sent him to the shadow realm simply accelerated the NFL timeline. And with Bledsoe on death's door, basically, with a lacerated artery, even though he came back into the game after the hit, it was finally time. It's time for the Tom Brady era to finally begin. And it wasn't a phenomenal start, as after coming in the game for Bledsoe, he wasn't able to save the game, even though he brought the Patriots all the way down the field, but it just wasn't meant to be. But hey, Drew was going to be out for a fat while now, so Tom, this is your team now. And in the first game in the Tom Brady era, he would play against the chosen one, the child who was set to be an NFL superstar from birth, his greatest adversary in the NFL, the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. Of course, Tom's first ever start was against Peyton, because I don't know, dude, these moments and matchups just seem to always happen in NFL history, and this one was a bit anticlimactic. And Brady nor Manning really didn't do much. The Patriots defense had 2 touchdowns, and Tom was mainly checking it down all game, because this was his first game ever. He was still getting used to things, but we will see these 2 face off later down the line, believe me. But then, in week 5, Tom Brady had his breakout game. And of course, it was against the Chargers, and trailing 19-26 with a few minutes left, Tom took the Patriots down the field and scored to force overtime. Now, this wasn't a particularly good Chargers team, but hey man, sometimes these games happen, and what matters is how it ends. And after a 59-yard field goal fell just short for the Chargers, because of course it did, the Patriots won. And Tom was, hot, I guess. Also, what the fuck? What the fuck is this picture, bro? What's going on with V. Parker here? What the hell is this? And then, 1 week later, the Tom hype train just kept going, because they played Indianapolis again, because they were in the same division together at the time, and they pegged Peyton once more, winning 38-17, and Tom had another efficient day. It's literally standard Tom Brady things to go for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, which meant after this win versus the Colts, Tom Brady so far as the starter for the Patriots had a 60.3 completion percentage, 866 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 picks on the season. And again, this was a 6th round pick that wasn't even supposed to see the field. But although Tom had played his future rival twice already this season, now he had to face the ghost of his past, as the Patriots took on the Denver Broncos, who were quarterbacked by his former Michigan teammate, Brian Griese. And Tom learned a lot from this battle with Griese. From his own words, he said he was able to understand that preying on someone's downfall, basically, is not the way to get better, and instead to focus on himself and what he can work on. And so, the game went on, and Griese was victorious. And this game was, and still to this moment, has been the worst fourth quarter Tom Brady has ever played in his life. And it couldn't have come at a worse time. The Patriots were actually in this game, but then, in just the fourth quarter alone, Tom Brady went 4 for 10, 40 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter alone, with a passer rating of 12.5. So yeah, they didn't win the game, and now Tom Brady had to respond to, well, everyone, including Bill Belichick, because guess what? A few weeks later, Tom's play kinda leveled off, and he wasn't doing bad, but luck was definitely on his side. And now, by week 10, Drew Bledsoe was healthy again. But still, Belichick, with his job on the line, with a 5-5 record and their Pro Bowl quarterback returning from injury, chose to stick with Tom Brady. And Tom rewarded his decision by fucking dying versus the Bills. Well, I'm like half joking. He actually played amazing versus the Saints immediately with 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. But yeah, then in week 14, Tom said he'd do anything to have this game back specifically, which is hilarious because they won. But yeah, Tom not only got his shit rocked in this game, but he just couldn't find any rhythm in a hostile Buffalo environment. And his coaches were not happy with him and told Tom, hey, you think we can complete a pass now that we don't have to play in Buffalo? And well, he did complete some passes from here on out, as the Patriots won their final 2 games of the season and made the playoffs in a year where they were projected to be a bottom 5 team in the preseason, and with their franchise quarterback playing just 1 full game this season. They went 11-5, and now it's playoff time. And we have some things to discuss. You know what game we gotta talk about. Tom Brady, a man who had just 14 NFL starts to his name, would face the Oakland Raiders, whose future MVP quarterback Rich Gannon had been in the league for 14 years. But the Patriots were favored at home because, yeah, Tom was basically just a rookie quarterback. However, New England's defense was hounding this year, and with heavy snow forecast at home, the elements were favoring New England. But yeah, can I just fucking skip this game, man? I know it's my job to talk about it, but man, I really don't want to. I really don't. Sorry you had to see that, Tom. That was unprofessional on multiple levels. Now, this was a crazy game. It's honestly peak football to me when it's cold as hell and snowing. It's guaranteed to be a messy game. It was the past with Gannon and old Tim Brown and Jerry Rice versus the future of a 6th round quarterback and a head coach with a losing record at the time. And the game was, yeah, ugly. And Brady eventually threw for 300 yards, which besides the Chargers game, was the most he had thrown all year. And in the biggest game of the season, Belichick showed that he trusted his young quarterback, as Tom threw it 52 times. And the game only had one touchdown until finally, with 8 minutes left in the fourth, Tom jumped into the snow to make it 13-10. And then a few drives later, with a minute and 48 left on the clock, and the Patriots still trailing by 3, Tom Brady dropped back while his former Michigan teammate Charles Woodson blitzed off the right edge, and then it happened. The quarterback's arm was moving forward. I will not speak on any more of this, but this was the beginning of the end for the Raiders. For all of us, this was the start of Tom's dominance. And from here on out, the darkness has arrived. The Patriots proceeded to get the ball back. The executioner sent it to overtime on a 45-yarder in a blizzard, and then in overtime. Of course, the Patriots won the coin toss, and Tom did what he always does. He took the Patriots down the field to set up a chip shot field goal, a near identical situation to that preseason game versus the Lions, and the Patriots won the Tuck Rule game, 16-13. And advanced to the AFC Championship. Now, Tom still wasn't necessarily getting the credit he deserved, because all the attention afterwards went to the Tuck Rule and how the Raiders got robbed, which wasn't wrong per se, but still, it was a bit unfair to Tom, who had just won a playoff game throwing for 300 yards in the fucking snow, and in the AFC Championship game, with the 10-point favorite Steelers in the way of the Patriots getting a Super Bowl spot, it, I guess went really well for Tom Brady, one could argue. The Patriots won the game, which is always a positive for old Thomas, but the thing is, Tom struggled in this game and got hurt late in the second quarter. Admittedly, this was against an amazing Steelers defense, but he left the game after leading the team to 0 touchdowns. But Drew Bledsoe, and specifically the defense and special teams that scored 2 touchdowns on their own, was enough to hold off the Steelers on the road. And now it's time for the defining moment of Tom Brady's career. The inciting incident of the most dominant player in NFL history. It was Super Bowl time, which, combining all the factors, including that Tom Brady was never supposed to play this year, the Patriots were supposed to be bad, hell, Belichick was supposed to be fired. The fact that this team, led by this quarterback, was on this stage was so unbelievably unlikely that I'm not even sure you can calculate it as a percentage. But here they were, and this game seemed almost biblical in the matchup itself. This was literally David versus Goliath. The Patriots were the last ranked team before the season began, and the Rams, their opponents, were number 1. One team had the last 3 MVP winners in Kurt Warner twice and Marshall Faulk, and the other had a 6th round, effectively rookie quarterback playing in his first playoffs ever. But remember, we weren't even sure if Tom Brady was gonna start because he just got injured versus the Steelers, and not only that, but Drew Bledsoe came in and closed out the game. So this decision was quite simply going to be the toughest one of Bill Belichick's career, and would likely cost the team the Super Bowl if he got it wrong. But Belichick knew what to do. And he picked the kid who scratched and clawed his way onto the roster, earned everyone's respect, and fought to get to this position, and he named Tom Brady as the starting quarterback for the Super Bowl. And so Tom Brady faced off against seemingly the inevitable dynasty of the St. Louis Greatest Show on Turf Rams, who came in as 14-point favorites with the better players, the experience, everything. But the New England Patriots had not only a hell of a defense, but they also had Bill motherfucking Belichick. And with the Dark Lord and his apprentice who was gaining power, teaming up on the biggest stage, Belichick and Tom got to work and embarrassed the Rams. It was 24-3 in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes remaining, and Tom Brady had played a clean and consistent game, outplaying the league MVP. Tom Brady, the nobody, the man who was drafted behind Giovanni Carmazzi and Spurgeon fucking Wynn, was outplaying the best quarterback in the league, as Tom to this point had 162 yards, a score with no turnovers, while Warner himself threw 2 picks. But then their last touchdown was called back. It turns out Marshall Faulk drew a holding from Willie McGinnis, and the Rams punched it in to make it a one-score game. Rather than having it just be over, it was now 17-10. The Patriots still had the lead though. And then after a few back and forth stops and punts, the Rams got the ball back and called on their magic man. One of the most interesting players that never gets talked about, Ricky Proehl. The man who saved the Rams season versus Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game 2 years prior made an amazing play and scored a touchdown, and the stadium went crazy. The Rams were completing this crazy comeback, and Ricky Proehl had cemented himself in history and would forever be tied to Tom Brady and his legacy as a vessel of pure pain. And now, with 1 minute and 21 seconds left, the Patriots had the ball with no timeouts left, and due to the circumstances, John Madden famously said this. And you know what? He was right. Back then, this was seemingly impossible. I mean, the Patriots had, again, effectively a rookie quarterback versus the Rams defense and no momentum. They should have just taken it to the quarter. But little did we know, this scrawny kid had a demon inside him. And so, Brady jogged out onto the field and did exactly what he did the first time he touched a football field in that preseason game so long ago. No matter the circumstances, no matter the moment, Tom Brady delivered. Tom Brady, when facing a potential dynasty, didn't just back down, but instead, knowing that he belonged, he fought to win. Battled through the adversity, proved everyone wrong, and stole the Rams' crown. The Dynasty title, which was all but prepared on a silver platter, ready to have Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf Rams' names edged into stone onto it, instead was stolen by the glitch in the system. The anomaly that was Tom Brady. And so, after orchestrating a drive to take New England all the way to the 31 yard line, almost exactly where his career started in the preseason, Tom did the same thing. He walked off the field and swapped places with the executioner. And the league's best kicker didn't even hesitate and knocked down the biggest kick of his life. And the Patriots won the Super Bowl 20-17. And this truly was, and probably in my eyes forever will be, the greatest underdog story in NFL history. I guess you could argue one that's going to come up, and maybe Tom won't be on the right side of it, but for this game specifically, I can't put it any better than how the Boston Globe put it, when they wrote, "Brady may be the single most inexplicable personal phenomenon, a 6th round pick who spends the season in extended on-the-job training and winds up as the MVP in the Super Bowl." And this story, Tom Brady's story, captivated millions across the entire world. Overnight, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. became the most talked about athlete in sports. And of course he was. He was the youngest quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl as a starter at the time. And he was hot too, which, oh, it helped. I know I brought it up in the full Patriots video, but he made the cover of Sports Illustrated, and they made him take his shirt off too for the culture. And actually, hold on. I got that picture somewhere. Give me a second. Okay. Hopefully that stays, but he's been a bit damaged, as you can see, but he's with us. He'll be staying. All right, now that we got another Tom joining us, things are gonna get real serious. Cause yeah, he had the Sports Illustrated cover, and yeah, he was basically drowning in the puss now, and yeah, he I guess he was named one of the 50 most beautiful people on the planet, and here it says. Brady, who recently broke up with a girlfriend, has learned to suffer for beauty. How fucking inspirational. Thank you, Thomas. This quote really, tingled my testes. The moral of the story is Tom was locked the fuck in, and now that he was getting more, action in life, Tom Brady was ready to become the new face of the NFL, and after getting an extra $30 million to stay with New England for a while, he could now focus on continually getting better and winning another Super Bowl, because he was not satisfied with one. But if you've been watching the video to this point, I'm sure you knew that Tom Brady was not satisfied with just one Super Bowl. He wanted the world to know he wasn't going anywhere. But 2002, one could argue, was pretty disappointing. But a lot of it wasn't Tom's fault. And I'm not trying to say that to glaze the guy, but it's just kind of true. The Patriots defense was still solid besides the run defense, but New England didn't have any run game on offense whatsoever, which forced Brady to attempt the most passes in his career for another decade pretty much. And although he started out great, as through the first 3 weeks of the year, any people who thought Tom was a fluky player in 01 were promptly silenced, as Thomas averaged 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 108 passer rating, with their lowest points during that stretch being 30. But then they lost 4 games in a row, only to turn it around again, and at 8-5, the Patriots were right there in the thick of it for the #1 seed in the AFC, because this was a super competitive season. And so, Monday Night Football versus the Titans would be a huge test for Brady in New England. They needed to have this game to get into the playoffs for sure. And what do you know? The Patriots couldn't stop the fucking run. It's almost like this game will happen some 20 years into the future again. But Steve McNair had a 46 passer rating, but running backs Eddie George and Robert Holcomb combined for near 200 rushing yards. But still, Brady deserves a large chunk of the blame on this one. He had about the same passer rating as Steve McNair, had a pass picked off to pretty much end it, and he hit the refs, so that's good. So yeah, when Bill Belichick is saying he got outcoached by Jeff Fisher, there's nowhere to go but down. And after falling to the Jets in Week 16 at home, with Tom Brady again registering below a 60 passer rating, they missed the playoffs 1 year after winning the Super Bowl. And for Tom, this was not the season he wanted to have. But he was still young. There was still amazing moments from this season. Versus the Bears earlier in the year, after falling down 6-27, he led a crazy comeback, going for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions to steal the game. And now that Brady had been denied a chance at a Lombardi, he was going to come back with a vengeance. And a motivated Tom Brady is a scary man. But everyone knew Brady was still elite. Again, 2003 was going to be Tom's 3rd full season as a starter, and he was ranked as the 6th best quarterback in the league, behind Rich Gannon, Peyton Manning, much more, but more interestingly enough, he was ranked behind Drew Bledsoe, who was at number 4. And in Week 1, we would get the long-awaited Tom Brady versus Drew Bledsoe matchup that's been years in the making. And they got fucking smacked. 31-0. Well then, not what you want to see, and Tom had 4 picks with no scores, and for about 3 days, people said the Patriots fucked up and should have kept Drew Bledsoe. And then, Tom had 260 and 3 touchdowns versus Philly, but everything wasn't sunshine and rainbows. After a Week 4 loss to Washington, where again, Tom had 3 picks, and Belichick didn't even let Vinatieri try a 55-yard potential game-tying field goal, people were beginning to panic. Was this just going to be another wasted year for New England? Is Tom Brady ever going to be a consistent quarterback? And well, immediately we got answers to all of those questions. Now, it should be said that before the season, the Patriots added Pro Bowl safety Rodney Harrison to the team, and he made a huge impact to the defense, which was struggling at this point in the season, but would eventually hit their stride. And Harrison said that right when he came to the Patriots facility, he showed up to the building at 6:30 in the morning, and Tom had already been there for a while, and said good afternoon. And these two would have their own competitive battles throughout their Patriot careers. So after Week 4, the Patriots knew that they needed to lock in, and you know what? They did. And this was just a fun year for the Patriots overall. And it seemed like with every week, with every win, their opponents became more and more hellbound on giving the Patriots their 3rd loss. But it never happened. Like I said, this Patriots defense was ridiculous, and the offense, with very little weapons on it, needed the defense to do a lot of the heavy lifting, which worked out time and time again. In Week 7, the Dolphins gave the Patriots all they had, but Tom had a game-winning 82-yard laser to end it, and in Week 9, it looked like they were definitely fried, but ended up in a crazy scenario where the correct thing to do was to take an intentional safety, which Belichick did to buy Tom Brady one more drive, where he went right down the field and won it 30-26. And they kept up this raid boss feeling all season long, winning an incredible game versus the Colts in Week 13, with both teams being 9-2 and surely meeting in the playoffs. And to end the season, reversed their Week 1 score versus the Bills in a rematch with Buffalo, winning the game 31-0 this time, and finished the year as the Super Bowl title favorites at 14-2. But all in all, this was not Tom Brady's finest season. Not to say he was terrible, but he really didn't have to take over the game for his team to get a win. Again, not to say he was a bad quarterback, because he was still elite, but with 23 touchdowns, 12 picks, and a season-long passer rating of 85.9, Tom would effectively never have a worse season for the rest of his career, or at least until the last season of his career, which is insane that Tom's quote-unquote worst season of his career, he went 14-2 and finished third in MVP voting. But all the cards come down in the playoffs. All that time in the weight room, in the film room, all the mental preparation is all gonna come down to this, but it almost ended right away. At home, in 3-degree weather, the Titans came to town and were supposed to be lambs to the fucking slaughter, as right away the Patriots got a 41-yard touchdown, but then things slowed down. And eventually the game was tied at 14-all until Vinatieri hit a kick to put New England up by 3, but Steve McNair had time and begun to take the Titans down the field until a grounding, a holding call, and then finally a pretty horrible drop ended the game, and the Patriots just barely survived Jeff Fisher, which led to Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, the league's best rivalry, or at least best rivalry to come, because for now, it was still just the Patriots ragdolling Peyton every single year. And this time, it was the same damn formula again. And this one was just downright hard to watch. Peyton Manning just had a terrible game. And the narrative that the Patriots were basically cheating on blatant illegal contacts was a bit overblown. They played overly physical and got in the way of things, but they didn't really break any rules. Now, because of this game and its outcome, which was a Patriots commanding win in the snow, 24-14, the NFL's Mel Blount rule was adjusted. But more importantly, an NFL narrative was effectively solidified. A narrative that stated that Peyton Manning is a choker and Tom Brady is a winner. And so the New England Patriots moved on to the Super Bowl, still not losing a game since the Week 4 loss to Washington, also finishing the season undefeated at home. But again, like I said earlier, Tom Brady really hasn't had to do all that much. Hell, even in the playoffs so far, over these 2 games, he's had a passer rating of 74.6 combined. Now, to be fair, the weather's been atrocious in those 2 games, but still, Tom could have been playing better. But now, versus the Carolina Panthers, the Patriots needed Tom Brady more than ever before, and Tom was not gonna let this opportunity go to waste. So in the days leading up to the Super Bowl, Tom Brady was, locked in, as you'd hope, but if this moment went public before the Super Bowl, I mean, everyone would have known what was gonna happen, because the intensity levels just seemed beyond comprehensible. So in practice, apparently, before the Super Bowl, Tom was picked off by Rodney Harrison, and he high-stepped all the way to the other end zone like Deion Sanders. And apparently, Brady got so mad, he started just throwing footballs at him at full speed, cussed him out, and he wouldn't talk to him for a few days. So Tom already came into the Super Bowl fuming, and versus the Carolina Panthers, who were playing up to their competition level, they needed all of Tom Brady's power. As although they had a 21-10 lead, Tom goofed a bit, throwing a red zone pick, and just like that, the Patriots were in trouble. They were trailing with mere minutes left in the Super Bowl. But this is where Tom Brady thrives, and he proceeded to have one of the clutchest drives of his entire career. 3rd and 5, he got it. 3rd and 9, he used his insane pocket presence and patience to pick it up too. And for the memes, I guess, they found Mike Vrabel in the end zone. But then, Tom Brady's flesh puppet of pain made his return, making a huge first down catch, and then a touchdown was none other than Ricky fucking Prohl. And of all people, it was Ricky Prohl, the same man who scored what he thought was the touchdown to keep his team alive versus the Patriots in 2001 with the Rams, did the same thing again. And what do you know? It was the same exact outcome, all because of Tom Brady. And this is the greatness of Tom, because yes, anyone with a great defense can be put in this situation, but when everything goes wrong, there is no more in-control quarterback in the clutch than Tom Brady. And after a kickoff went out of bounds, because of course it did, Tom Brady easily brought the Patriots down the field, as he's done time and time again, battling an offensive pass interference and more. And once Deion Branch made a key catch, it was the same sequence of events again. Tom Brady jogged off the field, had done his job, switched places with the executioner, and from 41 yards out, the death blow was delivered, and the New England Patriots were Super Bowl champions again. So he did it. That's 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and the guy was just on an all-time tear. The comparisons to all-time greats were already happening, but again, questions still remained. No matter how Tom Brady did, there was always going to be skeptics and narratives against him. And although that did fuel him, he did need to back that up in 2004. But Tom had zero intentions of letting up, because literally right away, the Patriots started out 6-0. And although they finally fell to Pittsburgh in week 8, they had won 21 games in a row. 21 straight games without a loss. And at this point, Tom Brady had mastered what it meant to be a quarterback. He himself said the amount of prep he was doing each and every day was so dialed in, football was all he knew. He would obviously watch an obscene amount of film, but he would also draw plays and coverages on note cards. He would visualize how to beat certain looks, and had an answer to everything thrown at him in his mind, and he would execute it on the field. Now, obviously that didn't always work out, like versus the Dolphins, where he threw 4 picks, but they only lost by 1. But that loss to Miami and the Steelers one from earlier were their only 2 losses all season, because they went 14-2 again. Tom Brady had lost 4 total games since the 2002 season. That's fucking insane. And now that Tom and the Patriots had become the final bastion standing in the way of all NFL players' hopes and dreams, they had to hold up that reputation once more in the playoffs. And they did. Again, they played the Colts and Peyton Manning in the divisional round, and once more it was an utter blowout. I'll spend more time on closer Tom and Manning games later, but for now, the playoff ones just weren't even games, as New England won it 20-3. They dominated the time of possession battle 37 minutes to just 22, and for Indy, again, Tom Brady outplayed Peyton Manning to advance to the AFC Championship, where Tom Brady's greatest motivator would have a chance to shine once more. Tom Brady wanted revenge. Because as I said earlier in the season, the Patriots lost to the Steelers, and due to this loss, they had to travel to Pittsburgh and face off against a rookie captain fat fuck and their elite defense in Pittsburgh. And Tom wanted revenge more than anything, and nothing was going to stop him from getting it. Or maybe one thing was going to try, and that was the flu. Because Tom Brady was really sick before this game, and apparently so were a few other guys on the team. So with all the things going against the Patriots, a sick Tom and more players sick too, the fact that they already got bodied by the Steelers earlier, the fact that they were playing a 15-1 team on the road in the AFC Championship game, Tom went out there and slaughtered the Steelers. Tom was not fucking around. He woke up that day with a full mast, with all 6.8 inches ready to rumble, and the Patriots dismantled the Steelers. At one point, it was 31-10, and the closest the Steelers got for the entire game after the first quarter was making it an 11-point game. Again, this was a 15-1 Steelers team. They were amazing. There's only a handful of teams that have even won 15 games in NFL history, and the Patriots got it done. Now, they were actually favored, as this was still a rookie Ben Roethlisberger, but given the circumstances, to go in and to do this to the Steelers is ridiculously impressive. And Tom Brady had an efficient 200 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 130 passer rating, and he himself said this is one of his favorite wins of his career, and he relied on the run game to kill time and advance the Patriots to another Super Bowl. So this was it. Tom Brady's 3rd Super Bowl appearance in his first 4 years as a starter, and against Donovan McNabb and the Eagles, he was not gonna let up now. And this game was a full Patriots masterclass. This whole game is what made the early 2000s Patriots so incredibly dominant. They controlled the run game with Corey Dillon, who they acquired earlier this season from Cincinnati. They clamped Donovan McNabb, and now Brady just had to do his part. But with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, the Patriots offense hadn't got anything going all game, and we're down 0-7. But for the rest of it, it was all New England. As from there, Brady found Mike Vrabel for his 5th career catch and 5th career reception touchdown at the time. And although he may be losing a ring now, it seemed like another one was on the way, as Brady was 15 for 23, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns with no turnovers, and just some crazy clutch throws along the way. Now, Tom did his part, and so did the defense, and because of that, they won another another Super Bowl because the Eagles offense just took way too long, and Donovan McNabb threw 3 too many interceptions, and Tom Brady was now a 3-time Super Bowl champion. By far, the youngest quarterback in NFL history to get 3 as the starter. The vibes were high, and the dynasty was gonna go on forever, but not everyone was satisfied. For one thing, the media in general constantly always compares everyone. And of course, we're all guilty of this at times because, in fairness, it is pretty fun. But even with all the incredible things Tom Brady had done so far in his career, people said, yeah, he's great, but he fumbled in the second quarter. Joe Montana would have never done anything like that. And yeah, he had a solid postseason of 587 yards, 5 touchdowns and no picks, not bad against the 3 best teams in football, but he could have been better. But what's interesting is although these narratives were objectively toxic and somewhat unfair, it seems to line up with what Tom Brady himself was thinking. Tom's main mindset is always that his favorite ring is the next ring, and he's never gonna bask in the moment for more than like a day. Yeah, he'll celebrate all night the day they win it and get a little crazy, but the next day the dude's gonna be back in the gym eating his almonds and whatnot. And so, after going 34-4 in his last 2 seasons, including the playoffs, I repeat, Tom Brady had now lost 4 total football games from the beginning of the 2003 season to the end of his 2004 season. Brady geared up for yet another year, and the entire Patriots team had one word on their mind: three-peat. But right away, it was clear this 2005 version of the Patriots was not the same team. Injuries and tragedies bogged down the rest of the team, as Teddy Bruschi suffered a scary stroke, Rodney Harrison went down for the season, and even Steve Belichick, Bill Belichick's father, passed away on November 19th, 2005, just a few months after he shared the Super Bowl Gatorade bath with his son one final time. And because of all of this, Tom and the Patriots started out pretty rough coming into a Week 9 game against the Colts at 4-3, and they needed this win to stay alive in the playoffs and be a real threat to go get that three-peat. But maybe their cold, hard grip in the NFL had been relinquished because Peyton and the Colts were just the better team. Tom Brady was running out of weapons. Outside of Deion Branch, he really had nothing to work with. So while Tom had still yet to have a single receiver break 1,000 yards since his first full year as a starter, Troy Brown technically did it, but Peyton had Edgar and James, Marvin Harrison, and Reggie Wayne, who in this game combined for 365 yards, and the Colts blew out New England in Gillette Stadium. So although they were 4-4, the Patriots were able to rally and make the playoffs at 10-6. And Tom had a really good year again. He led the league in passing yards. He made a Pro Bowl. He was 3rd in MVP voting and 4th in Offensive Player of the Year. So yeah, they'd have to play in the wild card and wouldn't have home field advantage, but the Patriots still had the 3rd best odds to win the Super Bowl behind the Colts and Seahawks, which is pretty good still, right? And after they beat down the Jaguars 28-3, Tom, did you know this? Anyways, the vibes were good, okay? We don't need to talk about that score for a while yet. The defense seemed elite again, as Willie McGinnis had 4.5 sacks in that Jaguars game alone. Tom had an efficient 3 scores, and now they traveled to Denver. And remember, at this point, Brady seemed immortal. Because he had not lost a single playoff game in his entire career. Nobody had beaten him. He was a perfect 10-0. And the first man to deliver that stain on his resume was fucking Jake Plummer. Yeah, this must have been a huge punch to the nutsack for Tom. Mainly because Jake Plummer didn't even play well at all. The Patriots fumbled twice and had a defensive PI call, which let the Broncos get 10 points before the half. And then Tom himself had a 100-yard pick down to the 1 because of an insane effort play from Ben Watson. Probably the best I've ever seen, which didn't matter because the Broncos scored anyways and just blew out New England, taking a 24-6 lead, and from there, the game was over. When you lose 3 fumbles and the other team gets points on all 3 of them, it's gonna be tough to win a playoff game, especially on the road. But now what? Because for many people, the impossible had just happened. Tom Brady, the man who was perceived as immortal, had just been defeated by Jake Plummer, no less. But this was vindicating to most of the world, and the narrative against Tom Brady already began to build. People said he was a system quarterback, and after their offensive coordinator Charlie Weis left in 2004, he wasn't the same quarterback again. He had his hand held by his defense. He whines to the refs all the time, and once any team puts any pressure on him whatsoever, he folds. Switch him with Peyton Manning and Peyton would have just as many rings, if not more. So with all these narratives building up around Tom, narratives I'm sure he heard, all he did was the same old grind. He worked his ass off, commanded the team, and was ready to get right back to being dominant. But that's just not what ended up happening. And the next few years of Tom's career can be in some ways defined as a tragedy. 2006 was supposed to be a special season. This entire team was fueled by revenge and started out the year 6-1 with their defense never allowing more than 17 points to any opponent. But their first real test came in week 9 when the sheriff again came to town. And instead of this being business as usual, this was a nightmare for the Patriots. Peyton was alright, above average for his standards versus the Patriots, but Tom Brady was horrendous. This was the worst game of his entire career. Not only to this point, but in his entire career. With a minimum of 30 pass attempts, Tom Brady never played a worse game than this shitfest with 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, and a 34 passer rating. So yeah, Brady and the Patriots were wounded, and they did get royally fucked up by the Colts, but they would be ready to meet them in the playoffs, which again, they did. Both teams handled what got in their way, and for the Patriots, they ended up beating what many thought was the best team in football in LaDainian Tomlinson and the San Diego Chargers in a classic Chargers meltdown. This is just one of my favorite games ever. I'm excited to talk about this. So down 13-21, Tom Brady threw his 3rd interception with 6 minutes remaining and the game was over. But Marlon McCree, who jumped the play, ignored his head coach's advice before the game, saying, please just fall down if you get a pick. And Troy Brown, the Patriots wide receiver who also played cornerback sometimes, just so happened to be right there to force the fumble after the pick, and the Patriots scored and fucking got the 2-point conversion. And from there, Brady threw a clutch game-winning pass to Resh Caldwell, which led to a field goal and eventually a Patriots win after a missed Chargers field goal, and LaDainian Tomlinson stormed off the field, which would advance the Patriots to the AFC Championship game, where we would get the greatest installment of Manning versus Brady ever. The 2006 AFC Championship. Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. The 2-time Super Bowl MVP versus the 2-time league MVP. The best of the best squaring off again. And right away, it was the same old story. The Dynasty gate kept everyone from even reaching a Super Bowl. Peyton just couldn't beat Tom, and it seemed like the universe itself would not let Peyton win. The Colts fucked up an easy fumble recovery early to let up a 7-0 hole, which then became 14-3, then 21-3 after a Manning pick 6, and things were just getting disgusting. The Colts were dead, the crowd was silent, and Tom Brady was inevitable as always. I mean, you just can't beat him. No matter what you have on your side, it seems like he's always one step ahead. But then something happened that has never happened before and never happened since. Tom Brady blew a lead in the playoffs. And not only did he blow a lead, but he blew it to his greatest rival with an 18-point lead and all the momentum. And in the second half, Brady's stats just were not enough. He had 1 score and 1 pick in the second half with a passer rating of 80, while Peyton Manning led the Colts to 4 second-half touchdowns. But still, Tom made some filthy plays. I mean, I will give him credit. On 2nd and goal late in the 3rd, he got leveled and hit Resh Caldwell right in the hands, but he dropped it. So Tom responded by doing it again, and a crazy throw and catch led to a score. I mean, this game was nuts. Then Jeff Saturday scored a touchdown after a fumble recovery, as you do. And from the sideline, Ricky Prohl, now an Indianapolis Colt, finally was gonna get one on Tom. But the play of the game, the choke that ended the season, was with 8 minutes and 47 seconds left when the Colts just didn't guard Resh Caldwell. So Tom zipped it to him immediately and he fucking dropped it. And after taking their first lead of the game with 1 minute left, a Tom Brady interception sealed the game because the Colts did not pull a Marlon McCree and just fell down. And Tom Brady was sent home, forced to watch his rival win the Super Bowl versus sexy Rex Grossman from his couch. He was pissed. This was the peak of Brady's rage for now, because 2007 is, for my money, the defining season of Tom Brady's career. His pinnacle in statistical amazingness. I guess. He was pissed. This was the peak of Brady's rage for now, because 2007 for me is the absolute statistical best of Tom Brady's career, and the one season that you could point to in his entire career that will never be replicated again. But before we continue, this video is sponsored by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picking app, and it's available in most states, including California, Texas, and many other, and the app is just really easy to use. As you can see, just looking around at all these little picks here, as although the NFL season is not quite here yet, we've got a lot to look at for the season-long stuff. They even have NBA season-long stuff, which is crazy. I mean, the finals just happened, but yeah, if you want to just believe in some certain teams, I think that teams like the New York Jets are actually going to be better. I think that Geno's going to have a good year, which should be against my personal religion. But yeah, I'm going to be cooking up a Jets slip here pretty soon. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And you can follow me on PrizePicks. Just search up TubFrog and you'll be able to find me, so we'll see if it actually works out. But PrizePicks has a new offer going on right now, and if you win just a $5 lineup, you will get $150 in lineups in the future if you use code HMA. The link will be in the description. Just use it and sign up, and yeah, just a limited time offer, so take advantage of it if you can do so responsibly. So again, use code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. But thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring this video. Again, link is in the description, but without further ado, let's get back to the video. I literally can't say enough about Tom Brady's 2007 season, but what I will say is that once he was finally paired up with his first real star receiver in Randy Moss, the NFL literally didn't know what to do. Once Brady got Randy Moss and Wes Welker, it was over for the NFL. From weeks 1 through 8, the lowest points they scored in a game was 34. In an era where teams scored about 21 points per game on average. This was legitimately the greatest 2 months of scoring the NFL has ever seen. It was just ridiculous. So let me just start ripping off crazy stats from this year that are completely true. So in week 7 versus the Dolphins, Tom had 6 touchdowns and a perfect passer rating, with 5 touchdowns in the first half and sat most of the second half too. In a casual 56-10 win over the Bills, Randy Moss scored 4 straight touchdowns in the first half alone, and Tom Brady had 5 touchdowns again without attempting a pass in the fourth quarter. By year's end, Randy Moss led the league in touchdowns while Wes Welker led the league in catches, and Thomas Edward Patrick Brady led the league in everything. 68.9 completion percentage, led the league. 4,806 yards, led the league. 50 fucking touchdowns, the most of all time. 8.7% touchdown percentage, led the league. 300.4 yards per game, led the league. 117 passer rating, led the league. And he should have had a unanimous MVP, but some fucking dipshit voted for Brett Favre. Tom alone was the honored one. Nobody could compare to him. He was untouchable. And sure, he had some close calls versus the Ravens and the Giants, but luckily that won't come up again. And so, after a very easy playoffs versus an inexperienced Jaguars team and a Chargers team with Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, and LaDainian Tomlinson fucking dead but playing through it, Thomas was back in the Super Bowl. And to him, this was the most important game of his entire life. He's said himself his favorite non-Super Bowl win ever was that Steelers AFC Championship game with the flu a few years back, but he'd give anything to have this win. But as you probably know, because it's most famous games in NFL history, it just wasn't meant to be. With a chance to truly become the greatest team in NFL history, Tom failed. The story had been flipped. He went from just a few years ago being the underdog in the David versus Goliath battle versus the greatest show on turf Rams to being Goliath. He was the one to beat. And I truly do believe if the 2007 Patriots were fully healthy and rested, with Tom Brady not dealing with a sprained ankle he suffered versus the Chargers, I believe they win this game versus the Giants about 99 times out of 100. But Eli Manning was able to fucking Doctor Strange his way to that one possible outcome. And after a helmet catch, a few almost turnovers from Eli and more, it was over. Tom Brady's greatest failure had come to reality. The Giants just made some crazy plays. They put pressure on Tom, and when it was all over, the world rejoiced as the cocky quarterback who could do no wrong had fallen. So this was Tom's worst moment. He said on record so many times that he would trade in 2 rings just to have this one, but the football gods just decided it wasn't time. And in his defeat though, he would grow stronger. Again, he always uses his rage as a motivation, but just wasn't his time to show that rage off yet. Right away in the first game of the 2008 season, Tom Brady suffered a torn ACL by Bernard Pollard, the Patriot killer himself, also known as the Bone Crusher, and he was out for the season. But he tried to come back, as according to Randy Moss, the man was in the fucking locker room testing his knee, trying to convince the doctors to let him go back out there. But soon enough, he would have the season-ending surgery that was inevitable. And this would be the last and only time Tom Brady ever missed any time due to an injury. So yeah, average Tom Brady stat right there, and he was imprisoned to watch from the sideline, as although the Patriots went 11-5, they missed the playoffs, and instead, Tom was relegated to, apparently taking his backup Matt Castle's fucking tires off and hiding them because Matt Castle wouldn't call him Captain Longshanks. I'm not making this up, I swear. But as time went on, it became increasingly cloudy as to when he was gonna finally break through. And in 2009, once more, Tom Brady was doubted again. I mean, he's 32 years old now. He's getting pretty old, and he's coming off of a serious injury which ended his season. Surely, this is the end of Tom's dominance. And well, week 1, literally just week 1, would instantly prove everyone wrong again. On Monday Night Football, in the Patriots throwback uniforms, Tom Brady would play his first full game since that loss to the Giants in the Super Bowl. But with 2 minutes left, the Bills were up 24-13, but Thomas had the ball. And he did what he always had done throughout his career. As the Patriots scored, got a fumble, and then Tom hit Wes Welker, Randy Moss, and then Benjamin Watson to win the game. Just a casual 12-point comeback in about a minute and a half in the first game he's played in a year. And then, you know, a few weeks later, they beat the Titans 59-0, and he had 5 touchdowns in the first half, you know, average Tom stuff. But again, Tom fell short. This era of the Patriots didn't have a great defense, but they were still good enough to be a solid playoff team. And in 2009, they fell to the Ravens 33-14 in just the wild card. And pretty much the same thing would happen in 2010. The only difference was 2010 was probably Tom Brady's best season as a player ever besides 2007. With his least pass attempts in a season, Tom really took that leap into just ridiculous efficiency that he would be known for in the latter half of his career, as he had a 7.3% touchdown percentage, 0.8 interception percentage, throwing a league-leading 36 touchdowns to just 4 picks all year, while leading the NFL in passer rating at 111, winning the unanimous MVP that he wanted in 07, becoming the first NFL player to do so, while the Patriots went 14-2 and were the #1 seed in the AFC. But again, Tom was met with failure, as right away in the divisional round, he was uncharacteristically outplayed by Mark Sanchez at home. And all of a sudden, you blink and the year is 2011. And Tom Brady, the man who didn't lose in the playoffs for 4 years straight, hasn't won a playoff game since beating Phillip Rivers on a torn ACL in the 2007 AFC Championship game. So once more, the doubters' narratives creeped back in. Maybe Tom Brady is a system quarterback. He needs great defenses to win. His hunger is gone. When is he going to fight back? Well, 2011 was a repeat year for Tom Brady in the most painful way possible. Once again, he just destroyed everyone. He's been doing the same thing every year. He's had that same mindset since high school. Hell, he's been wearing the same exact shoulder pad since college, and he whooped ass all the same. Now, this was a year where they really shouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl. As much as I want to give Tom credit, because he was amazing this season. Hell, he had fucking 6 touchdowns versus the Broncos in the divisional round, but they should not have beaten the Ravens in the AFC Championship. Tom had 2 picks and no passing touchdowns, but Billy Cundiff, the kicker for Baltimore, had other plans, and Tom made it back to the Super Bowl, where they would face Eli Manning and the Giants again. Fuck, Tom needs my help. Hold on, I need to get another poster, or else I don't know, he's gonna run out of power. All right, I got another one, but I kind of don't have any room. When the fuck did this turn upside down? Well, I ran out of tape. So you hate to see that, but I do have, I've got that one strip left, so yeah, I don't know why I ran out of tape. I mean, I haven't really used that much, so I don't fucking know, but hopefully that'll stay up. Tom needs me, man. He needs me. Anyways, I can't believe it. Tom actually got a rare chance at redemption. Once again, the Giants were here in a year they were not supposed to be, but here they were all the same. Except this time, the Giants were more respected, and the odds makers only favored the Patriots by about a field goal, and the whole world knew the game plan. Like, publicly, the Giants said, hey, if we don't go after Tom, if we don't put pressure on him, he's been here, he's done this shit, and if we don't make him uncomfortable, he's going to pick us apart. But again, that's exactly what fucking happened. Tom was under pressure all day long, and again, although it looked like enough, it just wasn't. For the second straight Super Bowl, Tom Brady faced off against Eli Manning, held a lead with under 2 minutes left to go in the Super Bowl, and both times, Eli Manning made top 10 plays in NFL history to steal a Super Bowl away from Tom Brady, which in a sense is devastating, and Eli Manning will forever have this over Tom Brady. But Tom's right. What he said in 2007 was true. It's a team sport. So yes, you can use this as motivation in the future, but at the end of the day, if it takes multiple miracles to just steal some rings from you, then you know what? That's not something to be ashamed of. But it was clear he was devastated. Just looking at his face from his post-game interview, you can tell the guy was wrecked inside. But he had a good attitude about it. Everyone asked him questions about himself, how he could have done more, how he could have won this game. But of course, Tom said we win as a team and we lose as a team. He's not the sole reason why he has 3 Super Bowl rings, he's just been a part of it, and ended off his interview by saying this.
I'll keep coming to this game and keep trying. I'd rather come to this game and lose than not get here, so hopefully we'll be back at some point.
So now what? Is this Tom's new fate? Is this the football gods like punishing him for holding the league captive for so long? Because over the past few years, Tom has forced to watch his peers he had held down for so long succeed. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl. Drew Brees won a Super Bowl. Eli Manning got 2 over him. Aaron Rodgers, the new hotter quarterback superstar, won a Super Bowl. And all in that timeline, Tom Brady, who was on track to be the GOAT, was now falling behind Manning, falling behind Rodgers, but also falling behind in the race against the ghost of his hero, Joe Montana, to become the best quarterback of all time. He just could never break through. He was putting in the work. He literally worked harder than seemingly anyone in the league. He still gave it his all every day, but maybe it just wasn't enough. In 2012, again, Tom and the Patriots were blown out by the Baltimore Ravens, and guess who? Joe Flacco, who fucking beat them earlier in the season with the replacement refs, and then again in the AFC Championship. It was the mustache, man. It had to be. Shit, dude. Anything to help Tom, bro. I gotta channel Joe Flacco's energy. All right, I think we're good. Took me a few months, but we got there. Anyways, as another season went by, Tom Brady's Super Bowl drought continued, which, to take a step back, is crazy that this man set such an insane all-time precedence so early in his career that constantly, and I mean constantly, seasons of 10 or more wins is considered a failure. For 10 years, from 2003 to 2013, the worst record he had was 10-6. And for reference, the Browns' best season during this 10-year stretch was 10-6 too. They had 1 year where they went 10-6. So the peak of the Browns franchise was Tom Brady's floor as a player. So yes, 2013 still had its moments, and he really had a great year, as Tom had amazing comebacks versus both Drew Brees and the Saints, as well as Peyton Manning. And that Peyton Manning game was truly special. At this point, Tom Brady was 9-4 all-time versus Manning, and this might have been the best game these two have played in terms of pure entertainment, and Peyton right away jumped out to a 24-0 lead. But what do you think Tom Brady did? The Patriots scored, Denver fumbled, and they scored again, and after this repeated a few more times, it led to the Patriots having a lead early in the fourth quarter. And although Denver fought back, Peyton Manning's perfect 50-0 record when leading by 22 or more was now turned to 50-1, with that one loss coming to Tom Brady. Anyways, this season alone, he had 5 fourth quarter comebacks. He was, still is, and always will be the fucking last quarterback you ever want to see with the ball and a chance to come back and win the game. And so, the Patriots made the playoffs, and as is tradition, dismantled the Colts in the divisional round. But once Tom Brady got the final kill on Indianapolis's quarterback, he realized it was a decoy, only to look up and realize the true sheriff was waiting for him in the AFC Championship. Now, Tom Brady had a good season, but nobody was fucking with 2013 Peyton Manning. And you know what? By this point in their careers, Brady and Manning had just developed this insane respect for each other, and NFL fans did as well. These two guys in their mid-30s were playing all-time level football. And we got another fun Manning and Brady installment. As although the Patriots were getting blown out for a majority of the game, 23-3, as always, Tom and the Patriots fought back. But Peyton's efficient 400 yards, 2 scores, and no turnovers were just too much to overcome. And the best offense in NFL history by that point, led by Peyton Manning, which had broken Tom's 2007 records, moved on to the Super Bowl, and, well, we'll talk about what happened in a bit, but at this point, in 2014, this season had to be successful for Tom Brady. It had been too long since they've won anything. This was going to be a legacy-defining season, and I truly do believe it is the best and most important year in Tom Brady's GOAT case. Now, the narratives around Tom and his decline were not only building, but they were starting to look plausible. And the Patriots themselves were starting to buy into it, because at this point, Tom Brady was 37 years old, and was at the point where quarterbacks usually become a shell of themselves. Joe Montana retired at 38, and hell, even recently, Phillip Rivers really fell off at the age of 38 as well. And to start off the year, Tom wasn't giving any reasons to not believe this was true. As from weeks 1 through 4, he was averaging about 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 0.5 picks, and a passer rating of 79.1. And in week 4, he reached the lowest point of his career. Against the Kansas City Chiefs on primetime Monday Night Football, the Patriots got blasted. And after a pick 6 to make the game 7-41, Tom Brady was benched. And the Patriots threw in their second-round pick quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, to get his first NFL action to finish out the game. And for Tom, this was the last fucking straw. He was not gonna let what happened to Drew Bledsoe so long ago happen to him. It seemed like Belichick was ready to give Jimmy the keys in Tom's eyes, but he mastered the mindset of what to do in a situation like this a long time ago. As if you remember in Michigan, back when he had to give it 110% every single day in practice and in film at being the starting quarterback on game day, and although the media declared Tom and the Patriots dynasty was dead, I'm sorry, but you cannot hold down a man with a brain that works like this. And so, Tom Brady proved everyone wrong again. Do not give this guy any motivation or it is fucking over for you. How did the NFL not realize this? And so, the Patriots were on to Cincinnati, blasted them by 30, and then just never looked back. And for the month of October, Tom Brady started it off with a 40 bomb versus the Bengals, then led a 51.5 touchdown masterclass to end it off versus the Bears. And for that whole month, Tom's stats at 37 years old came out to 317 yards per game, 3.5 passing touchdowns, 0 turnovers, no picks, no fumbles all month, with a 129.1 passer rating. So yeah, Jimmy was not getting his job back anytime soon. Yeah, Tom Brady lost one singular game all season long from there, that being a 5-point loss to the Green Bay Packers and the MVP Aaron Rodgers. And counting their last game, which Tom didn't play in, which was meaningless, the Patriots went 12-4 and were right back in Super Bowl contention. His offense got healthy, his Gronk got healthy, and everything was just coming together. This version of Tom Brady just mastered the art of the game itself. You kinda notice a trend with the greatest players in their sports too. With LeBron in basketball, his athletic peak, and thus peak in general, could be argued to be 2012. But 2018 LeBron, although he wasn't as athletic, he had now developed quite possibly the greatest IQ of any basketball player ever. He'd seen everything. Every team has thrown every possible coverage at him for just a chance to stop him. And that is what 2014 and on Tom Brady was to me. He had seen it all. Nothing surprised him. He was ready for anything. Any team could throw at him, and he'd dissect your defense with the perfect counter, no matter the team, with ease. And so, it was time. Business as usual for Tom. And by business, I mean the NFL fucking playoffs. But right away, he would face, I guess, his kryptonite in Joe Flacco, who had taken him down twice in the playoffs so far, and really should have done it a third time if his kicker didn't shank a free shot. And although this Ravens core was pretty washed and the Patriots were heavy favorites, Joe Flacco's nutsack didn't care. And the Ravens were lighting it up early, taking a 14-0 lead on the best team in the NFL on the road. And the Patriots had a wild strategy in this game, because according to Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick came into a meeting and was like, "Fuck you, Josh. We're not running the ball at all." And so they literally didn't. They ran it 7 times total, not counting Tom's 6 rushes, which, believe it or not, were not designed. But after Brady got a rushing touchdown, this shit got real. Tom Brady almost got in a fight. He was getting leveled all day too, but these two quarterbacks were just throwing haymakers. Flacco scored, then scored again, and all of a sudden, it was happening once more. Tom Brady was down by 14 points at home. Another season cannot end like this. And of course, Tom and the Patriots fought back with a score and then a Julian Edelman touchdown pass to Danny Amendola, who just signed with the Patriots this season after Tom Brady apparently threw a ping pong paddle at him after he beat him in a game. Again, this is a real story. I'm not making this up. But after hours of grueling war, blood and guts were just all over the field. The Ravens just made too many mistakes. Owen Daniels dropped a touchdown and Tom Brady just threw a perfect pass to Brandon LaFell. And after a Flacco arm punt, it was over. And the Patriots became the first team in NFL history to come back down 14 points twice in the same game. Joe Flacco had 4 fucking touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. You hate to see it, but you know what, man? I'm glad that the mustache, came through. You're welcome. You're welcome, Tom. I tried, all right? Would move on to the AFC Championship. And again, let me ask you, what is the number one thing Tom Brady thrives off of? Being written off? Doubted and counted out. When someone says you don't deserve this or you can't do it, he will do it. And I'll just go ahead and spoil Christmas, but the Patriots destroyed the Colts in the AFC Championship. It wasn't even fucking close. It was 45-7, and Andrew Luck hadn't even come within 30 of any Tom Brady team in the playoffs yet. However, that is not what got the attention from this game. Deflategate was the biggest NFL violent controversy in the league by far. This was talked about all week long after the game, and it was all the Patriots were asked about. Why'd you deflate the football, Tom? Why did you cheat? Because at this point, the Patriots had a narrative of cheating behind them. Because yes, Bill Belichick was caught for Spygate in the 2007 season after his former defensive coordinator Eric Mangini snitched on him for doing so in years prior. However, Bill was not the only one who was caught for this, but the accusations against the Patriots stated that they purposely deflated footballs in the AFC Championship versus the Colts in order to gain a competitive advantage, which was discovered after the Colts intercepted a pass. Now, mathematically, this doesn't make any sense, alright? I didn't know a damn thing about the ideal gas law, but I read one long-ass Reddit post and a few YouTube videos, and I can tell you for damn sure I'm more qualified to have made a ruling than the US court system, which would suspend Tom Brady for the first 4 games of the 2016 NFL season. Obviously, this wasn't announced for a long time. Instead, it would be announced later, but still, Tom Brady's AFC Championship win, which was done in dominant fashion, was completely overwritten. Nobody cared anymore. Everyone said Tom only won because he cheated, and he definitely did cheat. But again, this is not what you want to do to Tom. Do not give him any extra motivation, but that's what happened. And that's what they did. Tom was fucking fired up. I would say more motivated than ever before. He had gathered all of his energy he had left for this season and was ready to unleash it for one more game. But their opponent would be the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks, who had a defense that just blew the fucking doors and windows out of the greatest offense in NFL history in Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos in that previous Super Bowl we just talked about. And kinda got here because the Packers choked, but hey, they were here now. And we're in dynasty talks too. Just so Tom had a little bit more motivation, there it was. He had 3 main motivations, and that's all he needed. Stop the dynasty, shut everyone the fuck up, and win the game. And what ensued was a top 5 game. Tom, don't fall. No. No, just stay up for a second longer. Okay, sorry. And what ensued was a top 5 game in NFL history. And Tom Brady truly changed as a player. He finally broke through of that mold, and he would never, ever look back. This game, this one game, was everything for Tom Brady. He left it all on the line. He broke through of all of the narratives because Tom Brady hadn't won a Super Bowl in a decade. At the age of 37, he came back after the cheating allegations and took down a potential dynasty. This would be an all-time legacy-defining moment if he could do it. And so, the 2 best teams in the league went to war. After a slow first quarter, these 2 teams, who were evenly matched, began to make some fireworks. Tom went right down the field and scored after a pick, and the Seahawks answered right back with a Marshawn Lynch rushing touchdown. Yeah. Then it happened again. The same thing. Tom went right down the field and found Gronk of the NFL's #1 defense, but Chris Matthews was just popping off. The Foot Locker employee was having a day, and eventually Seattle pulled ahead, 24-14. This team was just so good, man. And their offense was the weak part of their team. And this was basically it. This was the game. With 3 minutes and 30 seconds left, Brady had 0 momentum and was faced with a 3rd and 9 against about 4 Hall of Famers in their prime. And well, they didn't get it. But the Patriots defense hung on and stopped Seattle twice, and the 4th quarter was here. If Tom Brady was going to make some last stand, it had to be now. And the play of the game for the Patriots came on 3rd and 14 with 11 minutes left in the game. And Tom found Julian Edelman, who got walloped by Cam Chancellor, but he held on and the dream was still alive. And so the Patriots scored. Brady found Amendola and they got a stop, and now Brady came back out onto the field and was ready to put a dagger in Seahawks fans' hearts. And he's been here so many times before. So many times. What was one more time on the biggest stage? And he was meticulous. He found Julian Edelman for a touchdown to take a 28-24 lead after being down 10 points in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. It's just insane that he keeps doing this in the 4th quarter of arguably the biggest game of his life. These were Brady's stats. He was 13 for 15, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns with a 140 passer rating, and still it didn't look like it was enough. It was the same torturous cycle. Miracles continued to get in his way. What did he have to do to be on the right side of fate this time? First, it was the helmet catch, then the Mario Manningham catch, and now Jermaine Kearse caught a bobbled pass on Malcolm Butler to set up a 1st and goal for Seattle, and all Tom Brady could do was watch in shock from the sideline. The Patriots decided to not let Seattle score, and then the most iconic play in NFL history happened. The Malcolm Butler interception. Tom Brady had a miracle happen for him, and Brady and the New England Patriots were Super Bowl champions for the first time in a decade. And finally, Tom Brady could let his guard slip and bask in the moment for just a second. Tom Brady, even in victory, was still thinking in the past, thinking how he could improve, saying how he thought those 2 mistakes, those 2 picks, were going to cost his team the game. And just like in 2007 and 2011, it's his curse, but also his gift. He is not satisfied ever, and he wanted to get right back on the horse and go for another one in 2015. But 2015 was just not their year. It easily could have been, though, because this season, Brady was ruthlessly efficient, having his best year since his unanimous MVP season, leading the league in touchdowns with 36, again at the age of 36, with just 7 picks and a 102.2 passer rating. And the Patriots, despite all their injuries, especially to Danny Amendola, Edelman, Gronk, and more, were 12-2 going into the final 2 weeks of the season and needed to lock up the next 2 games in order to secure the #1 seed in the AFC. But that did not go according to plan, because they lost to Ryan Fitzpatrick and the New York Jets after deferring in overtime time, back before the Bills demanded the rule change, which was an instant loss, by the way, so you never deferred back then. And then, in the final week of the season, not only did Ndamukong Suh almost fucking kill Tom Brady, but the Patriots lost the game. The offensive line just couldn't hold up versus Miami, and this would be a problem in the playoffs. Not against the Chiefs in the divisional round, because they kept him clean, and Tom had a routine 300 yards and 2 scores, but then the AFC Championship game would be it. Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. 15 years after their first ever matchup, both of them elderly men at this point, but this time, Peyton finally had an elite defense, and Tom got fisted. The Patriots were playing from behind all game, but Tom tried, man. It was sort of a poetic inverse of their first ever game. Peyton now had the great defense, but Tom was now the better player. But it didn't matter, because he put up a great fucking fight. He was hit 23 times this game, the most on any quarterback all season, while being pressured on 31% of his dropbacks, with Denver blitzing just 3 times all game long. But still, he battled. Peyton, well, I can't say he didn't have a great game, because he wasn't a good player at this point at all, but down by 8, they needed exactly a score and a 2-point conversion. The only problem was he was on the 50 and it was 4th and 10 versus a top 5 defense of all time. And they had 1 timeout. But the Patriots picked it up. Brady went to Gronk for the 4th down, but now they needed to do it again. And they did. On 4th and goal, he just said fuck it and threw it up to Gronk for the score. But on the 2-point conversion, the Patriots fell just short. In the last ever Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady, Peyton was the victor. And he would go on to win another Super Bowl. And Tom, like always, moved on to the 2016 season. But remember, he wasn't allowed to play.
2014. Oh, right here.
2016.
So I still keep this. My suspension letter that I received. Just a nice way to remember. Thank you.
If you forgot, Tom Brady was set to be suspended for the first 4 games of the 2016 NFL season for Deflategate. And the man kept the damn receipts, too. He was so fucking mad that Roger Goodell got in his way, because objectively, there was a much, much larger chance he was innocent than the chance he was guilty. And I think he was definitely not guilty of deflating the footballs. But because of this, Jimmy Garoppolo got a chance to show off his talents, which he did. In the 2 games he started before he got hurt, he was great. He was averaging 250 yards, 2 scores, and a 120 passer rating. There's no other way around it. Jimmy Garoppolo looked like a really good quarterback. Now, it was just over 2 games, but still, Belichick, I'm sure, took notice of this. And when week 5 came around and Tom Brady was cleared to come back, he had all the motivation he needed to do what he always did. Prove everyone wrong and stick it to Bill Belichick, saying, "This is my job. Jimmy Garoppolo is not quarterbacking this team." Yeah, safe to say there was zero rust, and Tom had 400 yards and 3 touchdowns with a 130 passer rating. I mean, this is just straight up legendary shit. He had Jimmy Garoppolo's 2-week stats in just 1 game to make sure everyone knew whose damn team this was. And then he did it again. And then he did it again. And then he did it again. And again. And again. And again. And Tom, you can't do this. This shit is not allowed. 2016 Tom Brady again was the NFL version of 2018 LeBron. It's the best comparison I can possibly make. This man was just in full control of the game itself. He had 28 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions and lost 0 fumbles all year long. He took care of the ball better than anyone in the league and was deadly efficient with a 112.2 passer rating and a league-leading 0.5% interception percentage. And this was enough for a 14-2 record and the #1 seed in the AFC. And the playoffs was just business as usual. He threw 2 picks, the same amount he threw all year in just the divisional round, but I'm confident the Patriots would have beaten the Brock Osweiler Texans with fucking Bill Belichick at quarterback, so that was free. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers awaited in the AFC Championship game. And Tom's just abuse and torture of the Steelers franchise at this point was just downright unbearable to watch as a Steelers fan. I'm not a Steelers fan, of course, but Speaking from their perspective, I think I'm right, because versus Pittsburgh alone in his career, he had the highest passer rating versus them of any quarterback ever given a real sample size at 109.2, the highest completion percentage at 68.3%, second in yards per attempt, second in touchdown percentage, and first in an interception percentage versus them. There is literally not a single player statistically better against the Steelers than Tom Brady. And in the AFC Championship, they just extracted their souls. All Yinzers everywhere cried out in pain, only allowing one touchdown all game outside of garbage time, while the Patriots dropped a near 40 whopper. And Tom Brady had another hyper-efficient 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. This shit is not normal, man. And now, can you believe it? In a season where Tom Brady was suspended by the NFL itself for something he likely did not do, he was now in the Super Bowl yet again. With Jimmy Garoppolo breathing down this 40-year-old's neck trying to take his job, Tom evolved into possibly the most in-control version of himself we've ever seen. And now, as he himself said, he had a chance to write the perfect ending. And their opponent was the Atlanta Falcons, led by the MVP, which probably would have went to Tom if he played those 4 games, but Matt Ryan won it, and Super Bowl 51 was truly the perfect chance for Brady to cement himself as the GOAT. Super Bowl 51, as you know, is arguably the most important cultural game ever played in the NFL. And for Tom, not only was there all this baggage and pressure to complete this FU of a season to the NFL, but he felt like he had to do this for his mom too, as she had been battling cancer. But she made it to the game, and so with that, the game began, but just as quickly as it started, it ended. Late in the second quarter, the score was 21-0. This Kyle Shanahan scheme had no answer. They had no dreams of stopping this Atlanta offense. Brady was done. This was it. This was going to be a stain on his legacy forever. Getting blown out in the Super Bowl in the biggest moment with a chance to cap off the perfect fucking season is unforgivable. He folded, and the Patriots and their fans will never remove this scar for as long as they live. But then the camera panned to show Brady alone on the sideline, seemingly thinking, and I'm sure I could have guessed, and you could have guessed, what he was thinking about in this moment. But this is what Tom Brady had to say about his mindset at this moment. And from here, things changed.
So many people say, what were you thinking at that time? And I was like, I was thinking, you better fight your ass off to the end. Like, regardless of what happens, you're not going to quit. Regardless of what happens, you're going to fucking fight your way out of this.
Absolutely.
And I told my teammates, lock in, laser focus. Come on, we just got to go down and score one fucking touchdown.
Yes.
We moved the ball down the field in the third quarter, and we made it a 28-9 game. And I was like, all right, came off the field, and I said, okay, at least we're fighting.
At least we're fighting. And not only were they fighting, but they were in this game all of a sudden. I have a vivid memory of watching the Super Bowl and seeing the score being 28-3. And I remember watching it with my friends, and we were like, yeah, it's a bummer. We got another bad Super Bowl like the Seattle versus Denver one. But, we ended up just leaving and going to have some fun on our own because it was over. But Tom just kept fighting. He said he would not allow him diving and missing on a tackle on a pick six be the defining play of this game. He would not let it happen. And they fought and fought and fought, and the defense and Tom made constant plays, one after the other. And after a Dante Hightower strip sack, Brady found Danny Amendola for the score, and James White for the 2-point conversion, and they made it a 1-score game, 20-28. It was like out of a movie. The Falcons opened the door for the #1 ranked player in EPA per play in clutch plays in NFL history. You cannot let this man cook, Atlanta, but they did. The defense folded, but again, it seemed like a miracle was going to end it all. Julio Jones made one of the greatest catches in NFL history, and a field goal would have effectively iced the game, but a penalty and throwing the ball ruined it. So thanks, Kyle Shanahan. Really fucking appreciate it. And Tom Brady had more fucking adrenaline running through his veins than a rabid polar bear, and the Patriots just kept marching and marching and marching down the field, and then Brady got a miracle to go his way. And so Thomas and the Patriots punched it in. And now the 2-point conversion to decide the Super Bowl. If the Falcons get a stop, somehow they can erase all of this embarrassment and they would win. But a screen pass just barely got in, and the game was tied. It was 28-28. They were down by 25 points once upon a time, and now they forced overtime, where of course the Patriots won the coin toss, and a touchdown would win the game. And so Tom Brady jogged back out onto the field and erased any doubts. He's done this at every level of the game for near 20 years at this point. From the moment he jogged out onto that field in the first preseason game of his career, this was the type of player he always was destined to be. And as fate would have it, the most important throw of the drive until the last also came at the 31-yard line when Brady found Danny Amendola for a huge 14-yard gain to suck the energy out of Atlanta's defense once and for all. The Patriots just kept moving forward until a pass interference call put them at 1st and goal. The Falcons, well, they were already dead. And then Joe Buck made the call, and the rest is history. This truly was and always will be the greatest comeback in sports history. It is so rare for a player to have so many factors going against him. Tom Brady was suspended by the NFL. He had Jimmy Garoppolo right there. All of it. Age. Belichick being against him. It seemed like the world was against Tom Brady. He was down 28-3, and I know it's a fucking meme at this point, but it genuinely is a mathematical impossibility that Tom Brady was able to overcome all of this and win the Super Bowl. This truly is the greatest badge of honor any one quarterback in NFL history has on their GOAT case. And this cemented it. This game cemented Tom Brady as the greatest player in NFL history. There was no debate anymore. Tom Brady, with everything on the line. Not only did Tom Brady win the Super Bowl, but he completed the greatest comeback in NFL history on the biggest stage. He threw for 250 yards in the 4th quarter alone. And as Joe Buck said, Tom Brady got his 5th and another Super Bowl MVP, finishing the game with 466 passing yards, an NFL record in the Super Bowl for now. Tom Brady had now reached an unprecedented status. At the age of 40, he had done this, and now he was still going out there every game, every practice, like he had something to prove. He was still working on his throwing mechanics even at his age, and so he began the 2017 NFL season with the same mindset, the same motivation as always. And from the beginning of the year, it was clear this was going to be a tough season. And I know I say this a lot, but this might be the most impressive version of Tom Brady we've ever seen. In week 1, they lost to the Chiefs again, and he got hit on seemingly every single play. It was the most times he'd been hit in a game since 2006, and for an old man, that's not ideal to be taken that much from the back. Of course, Robert Kraft didn't follow that advice, but this was a big issue, and by season's end, Tom Brady took 35 sacks, and last year, many said he played well mainly because of his amazing protection, with Tom only taking 15 sacks. But with all that going against him, and the injuries as usual, this time, to Julian Edelman specifically, who tore his ACL versus the Lions, Tom Brady won the fucking league MVP, becoming the oldest player in NFL history to win the MVP, leading the league in yards and attempts, 32 touchdowns to just 8 picks and a 102 passer rating. And he also ripped out the Steelers hard again, for what it's worth. Yep, 2017, week 15, Steelers versus Patriots. This was supposed to be the Steelers' year. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben were all playing some elite football. But the Patriots still didn't die. And even after Corvette got the Steelers inside the 10, Jesse James's touchdown was ruled incomplete. And Ben threw a horrid interception. The Patriots won. Tom continued his dominance over Pittsburgh, and the Patriots would eventually grab the #1 seed in the AFC, and the playoffs would run through New England as usual. Now, in the divisional round, it was the usual beatdown of the Titans, but the AFC Championship was gonna be another true test for Tom, because he completely fucked his hand up in practice, just mangling it to the point where it wasn't clear if Tom was gonna play or not. But because this is Tom Brady, all the analysts and fans thought there's no way Tom doesn't play, and this injury is a nothing burger of a report. He'll be out there like nothing happened, and yeah, he was out there like nothing happened, but his hand was super fucked up. This should not have been taken for granted, but just playing and being out there wasn't going to be enough, because Tom Brady had to face the #1 defense in the NFL in the Jacksonville Jaguars, known as Saxonville. And as the game got underway, it was a pretty bad start almost immediately, because Gronk went down with an injury and was done for the game. And after Miles Jack strip-sacked Dion Lewis and possibly should have scored, the motivation was low for the second straight year. And fast forward even more, and it seemed inevitable that Blake fucking Bortles was gonna take down Tom Brady, much in the same way Mark Sanchez did so long ago. And down by 10 in the fourth quarter versus the #1 defense in the NFL, faced with a 3rd and 18, there was no hope until there was. The Patriots converted and marched down the field and scored. This was a blown opportunity by the Jaguars, and all of a sudden, it was a 3-point game. The NFL's #1 defense couldn't contain the 41-year-old man, and yeah, shockingly, Blake Bortles wasn't built for the moment. And the Jaguars punted twice, and Brady found Amendola again for the score. And the Patriots closed out the game, and for the 20th time, I could show you Tom's insane fourth quarter stats, but you probably get it. He does this shit, and Tom Brady was back in another Super Bowl. And you know, in the Super Bowl, the simple fact is, Tom Brady's penis just wasn't large enough. Huh? And the same thing happened again basically with Eli Manning, this time with a backup quarterback by the name of Nicholas Foles. And you know how the story goes, right? The Eagles had a miraculous game. Nick Foles went ballistic and defeated the evil dragon in New England, right? Well, yes. But for all of the things that went so wrong for New England, this team that on paper had a great defense, the greatest defensive coach of all time, and was playing a below-average quarterback, got shredded all game long. They couldn't get a single stop when they needed to. They got nothing going for them at all. But despite the football gods simply not wanting New England to win, Tom Brady turned in his greatest Super Bowl performance of his career. With no Julian Edelman and Gronk still not at full strength, Brady broke his own Super Bowl record, throwing for 505 yards with no overtime, being in a close game all the way through. He had 3 touchdowns as well, a 115 passer rating, and no turnovers until the final play that sealed it, when Brandon Graham came off the edge and forced a fumble, and Brady went home ringless this time. And again, it was the same thing. Another Brady loss, and at this point, especially in the more modern social media landscape now, it was probably just rage bait, but once more, people were saying Brady's washed, and this was the end of the Patriots dynasty. But again, New England did the same old shit. They ran it back with the same guys. Tom was 41 pushing 42 now, and they just dominated everyone, going 11-5 and hosted another home field divisional round game, where again, they continued their undefeated streak of the Chargers in the playoffs and made the AFC Championship for the 18th time in Tom Brady's career. But remember how I said Tom and the Patriots were dominant this year? I mean, they were. It was standard Patriots things, though. It just dink and dunk and solid defense. However, meanwhile in the AFC West, another team had begun to reveal their hand, and their hand contained the new best quarterback in the NFL, and a potential GOAT rival to Tom. And his name is Patrick LeVon Mahomes. And in 2018, in his first year as a starter, the man torched villages and held POWs all season long, on his way to a historic MVP season. And the Chiefs would be the new top dog in the AFC, taking the #1 seed, which meant Tom Brady had to go on the road in the AFC Championship. And the last few times that happened, it has not gone well. In 2015, 2013, and 2006, Peyton Manning got him all 3 times on the road, and against Mahomes, that task seemed insurmountable. I mean, the narrative just seemed too good, right? It was the old dynasty finally being replaced by the new one. But again, as always, man, Tom Brady just uses these narratives for fucking ammo. And what we got was just peak NFL football. As usual, the Chiefs dug themselves into a hole and then got out of it because of pure talent. I mean, this was prime Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek. They were not going to fall behind by much in this game, and after D Ford got an offsides penalty to negate a game-losing interception by Brady, of course it was a penalty, pretty obviously, down by 4, Brady was still running out of time to snuff out this flame that was the Chiefs. 3rd and 5. Brady needed to get the first down, and he threw up a 50-50 ball to Gronk with the game on the line, and he got it. New England scored, and now the ball was in Mahomes' hands, who, as usual, made magic happen and forced overtime. And at 31-31, it was clear these two guys, Mahomes and Brady, were different. These two were stepping up in the biggest moments, and overtime was effectively going to come down to a coin toss. These were two unstoppable forces playing at the top of their games, and, well, who do you think won the coin toss? Tom won it. Tom Brady got the ball and was not gonna let Mahomes get a shot, and converted 3rd down after 3rd down after 3rd down to rip the Chiefs' heart out, and stepped on it on the floor, and they won the game, advancing the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl for the 3rd straight season. And well, I'd love to say Tom Brady's final hurrah with New England was a game as entertainment worthy as the Falcons or Eagles Super Bowls, but it was pretty fucking miserable to watch, as no touchdowns were scored until late in the 4th quarter, when Tom Brady found Gronk to set up the only touchdown of the game, and the Patriots won off of defense. So good for Bill Belichick, but it seemed like almost fate. This was a perfect way to cap off a legacy, starting with a Super Bowl win over Kurt Warner and the Rams, and ending it over Jared Goff and the Rams. Two completely different eras, and the Patriots remained the only constant, dominating this Super Bowl. And although Tom didn't play all that well, with Julian Edelman taking home the Super Bowl MVP, he played well enough. And Tom Brady was now a 6-time Super Bowl champion, and he really had done everything he could dream of and so much more in his career. But yeah, I spoiled it a bit, so my bad, but this was the end of Tom Brady. 2019 was a great start, technically his best ever. The Patriots were 8-0. They brought in Antonio Brown. They cut Antonio Brown, but they slipped up to end the year as they lost 3 of their last 5, including the final game of the season to Ryan Fitzpatrick of all people and the Miami Dolphins. The same thing that happened before, which was going to put them at a huge disadvantage if they were to face the Kansas City Chiefs. And now they had to play in the wild card, and unfortunately the king was awaiting. The Tennessee Titans, coached by their former linebacker and future all-star husband, Mike Vrabel. And he coached a flawless game. And Derrick Henry had 34 carries for 182 yards and just kept on running forward. And combine that with a terrible Tom game where he had thrown near 40 passes with just 200 yards and a pick, and the Patriots were dead. The dynasty was no more, and Tom Brady's last pass was a pick 6 versus the Titans in the wild card, but he wasn't done yet. Everyone thought he was done. Tom Brady was 43 years old. It was a pretty good career, right? I mean, what left did he have to prove? Nothing. He had nothing left to prove to anyone but himself. And so, ahead of the 2020 NFL season, Tom Brady left the New England Patriots. The man won 6 rings there. He became synonymous with the team itself, with Coach Bill Belichick, with everyone there, and instead, he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so, we now get into Tom Brady's time in Tampa Bay. And this is where things get weird. Because A, what the fuck do you mean Tom Brady is playing in Tampa Bay? And B, Tom Brady was being doubted more than ever before. The haters were louder than ever. Everyone was saying Tom Brady was carried in New England by his defenses. He'll never come close to winning anything without Belichick. Bill did most of the heavy lifting too, by the way, for Tom his whole career. Tom is a system quarterback, and he'll struggle under the Bruce Arians scheme. And you know what? There was a lot of validity to at least some of these, because we wouldn't know what Tom would look like with all new teammates and an all new scheme living in a new area, especially when they had no offseason, no training camp, and no preseason to work things out because of COVID. And he was 43 years old on top of all of this. So it was an odd time where I would say Tom Brady was again doubted more than any time in his career. He had so many factors working against him, but still, no matter his age or teammates or even who he's playing for, Tom Brady feeds off this type of energy. And in his 21st season in the NFL, again at the age of 43. He might have had his most impressive season ever. Now, before the year, nobody really knew what to do with Tampa Bay. Some had the Bucs outside the top 10, while some had them as high as the 5th best team in the league. But the expectations were that Tom Brady would make the Buccaneers a playoff team at the very least. So when week 1 came, people were, like fucking confused. Because week 1 was pitiful. They faced off against their division rivals in Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, who were better than Tampa Bay. And with Tampa's growing pains that seemed inevitable, a Saints win wouldn't have been shocking. But the way Tampa Bay lost was downright demoralizing, as Tom had 2 picks, one of them leading to an immediate score, and the other was a pick 6. And of course, right away, everyone said Tom has no idea what he's doing in a new offense, and he better figure his shit out. And it seemed like they were running out of time, because things weren't really improving. Tom was visibly frustrated at Bruce Arians a little too often, and by week 5, the Bucs were 3-2, and Tom Brady lost his first game and only game ever to the Chicago Bears as a franchise. And in this game, the famous 4th down play happened, and everyone thought the sky was falling and Tom was going senile, and it made things even worse that he lost to Nick fucking Foles again. People said Tom Brady was too old, that he can't do it anymore, the Bucs should have stayed with Jameis Winston. Like, I'm not even joking. These were literally narratives at the time. I could play the clips if it weren't for copyright, but it's just fucking absurd. Like, what do you mean? This dude's 43 years old. He's won 6 Super Bowls. He has nothing to prove to anyone. But still, despite how unfair all of this criticism was, what do you think Tom Brady did? He said, all right, you think I'm done? You think I'm washed up? Watch this shit. And he and the Bucs had a dominant end to the regular season. They brought in Antonio Brown to add more talent to the Mike Evans and Chris Godwin receiver room, which was already great. And he behaved too. They started to get on the same page chemistry-wise, and Tom had already mastered this Bruce Arians offense in a month. Obviously, Tom made his own tweaks, but it took Carson Palmer, a quarterback who was also amazing and nearly won the MVP, more than a full season to stop being a turnover machine. And Tom learned this system again in a month. He dropped 370 yards and 5 touchdowns on the Chargers in a massive comeback. He had almost the same stat line versus the Raiders, so I enjoyed that one a lot. Fucking thank you, Tom. But it wasn't all perfect, because after a Week 12 loss to the Chiefs, where the Bucs allowed Tyreek Hill to go for 7 catches for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, Tampa was 7-5 and still had to fight for their playoff lives to have a chance to get in. After a win versus the Vikings to get to 8-5, Tom faced a familiar opponent, or I guess like torture victim, in Matthew Ryan, Julio Jones, and the Atlanta Falcons. But unlike last time, Matt Ryan was now fueled by rage and took a commanding 24-7 lead, and he was not gonna blow it this time. He's learned he's stronger, and Tom is just one man, okay? He can't hurt him anymore, and Matt Ryan is gonna eliminate Tom from the play. I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad for Matt Ryan at this point. So after the Iceman was sent to fucking Valhalla again, he collapsed once more. Tom just fucking unloaded the entire clip. And in week 16, he turned the clock back to 2007. And at the age of 43, and I will keep saying he was 43 years old, because it will never happen again that a 43-year-old will be able to do this shit. Tom Brady had 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3 in the first half of a game. 350 and 4 touchdowns in the first half. Holy shit, man. He could have gone for 8 touchdowns if he wanted. 8 of them, but he decided not to. This was domination to the likes of which we haven't seen from Tom in a long time, and the NFL itself shuddered. Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Gronk, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. The Bucs just had too many weapons, and Tom Brady was orchestrating this Bruce Arians system at an all-time high level. And after abusing the Matt Ryan Falcons one more time with another 400-yard, 4-touchdown game, the Bucs made the playoffs at 11-5. But because the Saints swept them in the regular season, Tampa would have to go on the road every single game this postseason unless something crazy happened, and their wildcard matchup in Washington seemed easy on paper, but Tampa, and especially Tom Brady, had to be very, very careful. So the quarterback of the Washington football team was Taylor Heinicke, only because like 3 guys got injured, but damn it, he was the starter. And if anything, he brought some energy to this 7-9 team that really wasn't a real playoff team. But he had some relation to Tom himself, and back in 2017, he signed with the Patriots for a few weeks, and because he was trying to make a good impression on the team, he said one day he showed up at 5:30 a.m. to the facility, and by the time he showed up, Tom was already there, and said to him, "Who the hell are you?" and then invited him to watch some film. So this was his perfect chance to get some revenge on Tom. And you know what, man? He tried. He really did try, but the reality is, your best is not good enough to beat Tom Brady. And despite constant pressure from this filthy Tampa Bay defense, the Bucs just had too much firepower. And Tom's 380 yards and 2 touchdowns were overwhelming for Taylor Heinicke to overcome. And in the silence, because there was still no crowds at this time, Brady and the Bucs would advance to rematch Breeze and the Saints in the divisional round. So like I said, so far this season, Drew Brees and the Saints have owned Tom and the Bucs, and both games weren't even close, with the last meeting being a 3-38 throttling. And at home, the Saints were expected to be able to take care of business as they had done in every game in the regular season. But this game, which was marketed as the final duel between these two all-time great quarterbacks in Drew Brees and Tom Brady, was instead a defensive duel and a sad viewing, watching Drew Brees' career slowly and agonizingly flame out. Tampa's offense had a really tough time getting going, but after a Drew Brees pick, Tampa took their first lead of the season versus the New Orleans Saints, 10-6, since being up 7-0 all the way back in week 1. But there was plenty of work to do, and the Saints battled back to make it a 20-13 game, and Tampa's offense was still not creating anything at all really, but the Bucs defense was able to help close the gap, leading to a touchdown to tie it at 20, and then the play of the game happened. Devin White, who recovered a fumble earlier, picked off Drew Brees on 2nd and 8. And as they had always done, Brady and Gronk got them inside the 1, and then Tom Brady ran it in for a touchdown. He was probably and still always will be the greatest rushing quarterback of all time to just pick up a 1-yard touchdown, and that was it. Tom Brady and the Bucs had conquered the one team they couldn't beat all year as Drew Brees retired. And so in his first ever year of playing in the NFC conference, Tom Brady was in the NFC Championship game. But after taking down one all-time legend, an even better one remained. MVP Aaron Rodgers and the loaded Green Bay Packers stood in their way, and this game was tough. Tom and Rodgers were stifled all day by amazing defensive performances, but right before halftime, the score was 14-10. With 40 seconds left. The Bucs had the lead, but they needed to get the Packers off the field immediately to stop them from scoring. And the defense did its damn part. Fucking Jason Pierre-Paul, the man who blew his hand off with fireworks years ago, the same guy who helped terrorize Brady in the 2011 Super Bowl with the Giants, got a sack, and then Tampa got a pick. And on 4th down for Tampa Bay, with 13 seconds left, they gambled and got it. And then a last-second Hail Mary, basically, to Scotty Miller fucking worked. And Tampa made it 21-10 before the half. A nightmare scenario for the Packers. And then they scored again to start the 3rd quarter, and all of a sudden, Brady was beating the life out of Rodgers 28-10. So by this point, Tom Brady was 14 for 23. 210 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks with a passer rating of 126.7. Again, with the Super Bowl on the line, the old man pulled out a vintage Tom Brady performance. But from there, Brady's play began to slip. But the Bucs defense was enough to strangle the Packers to death, as the lead they built up was just too much. And despite multiple interceptions from Brady, after the Packers decided to not go for it on 4th and goal late in the 4th, it was over after a Kevin King pass interference call, and holy McShit in my pants, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady made the Super Bowl in year number 1. Year 1 with a whole new team than the one he's been playing with for the last 20 years. For 2 decades, he was in the same place, going back to the same house, with the same facility, the same system, with no offseason or anything. Tom Brady took this team that missed the playoffs last year and got them to the Super Bowl. beating 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a row. Now, obviously, this isn't all because of Tom. The media kind of overdid this a bit, but people like Devin White, Scotty Miller, dudes who wouldn't go on to have great careers, were insurmountable in the Bucs' Super Bowl run. But it's still crazy that they got to this point. And now, the final boss Tom Brady would face would be, again, the one man who finally wanted the crown forever. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions, the team who wanted to become the next Patriots, now just needed to beat the man who started it all, to become a dynasty. Except this time, Tom was in a different jersey. But just like last time, everyone predicted the same thing. This would finally be the moment Tom Brady is forced to give up the mantle of the next great dynasty and quarterback to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, who only lost 1 game all season with their starters. But Tom Brady had been doubted all year. He had been doubted to start his career, after success, after failing, after everything. And so, when everyone counted him out one last time, he landed a victory punch so satisfying. This Super Bowl, despite being a blowout, is one of the most iconic in NFL history. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers evaporated the Chiefs. No team had come even close to clamping Kansas City, but the Buccaneers played the most complete game their organization has played since they won their last Super Bowl back in 2002, and it just all came together. Tom opened the game with a touchdown to Gronk, which meant they now had the most touchdowns together for any tandem in playoff history. And the roster was really just like the 2010s All-Stars. Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Lavonte David, and this roster of young guys and geezers put on one of the most dominant displays in Super Bowl history. Tom had an efficient 3 touchdowns and no turnovers, with every Tampa Bay touchdown coming from a player who was not on the team in 2019. And on defense, the Bucs allowed a grand total of 0 touchdowns on 11 Chiefs drives, as they generated pressure on 52% of plays while almost never blitzing. The Chiefs' offensive line, which was already wrecked by injuries, just couldn't hold anymore. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl 31-9, as Tom Brady had now become the oldest Super Bowl MVP of all time. And if you remember way back in the day, he was also the youngest Super Bowl MVP of all time. And nobody will ever accomplish that again, as he won his 7th Super Bowl title in his career. So, did that just happen? Did a 43-year-old man just beat Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes back to back to back? Well, yes. Yes, it did. And then Thomas decided to toss the Lombardi into the fucking ocean because he had one too many almonds. So that was great. Luckily, it was caught before it went for a swim. But now what? I mean, surely Tom was going to retire, right? He quite literally had nothing to prove at all. Like, even the biggest Tom Brady hater in the world couldn't say shit anymore. Every narrative about him was dead. He wasn't a system quarterback. He could win without Bill Belichick. He's the most dominant quarterback in NFL history and had proven that across 3 different eras. And he alone has more Super Bowl titles than any franchise ever. But Tom not only ran it back in 2021, not only did he do that, but he might have had his best season ever. And I know I've said that multiple times, but he keeps doing the most ridiculous shit ever. At 44 years old, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. threw the football 719 times. His arm should not work this way. For 5,316 yards and 43 touchdowns, all of which led the league. He should have won the MVP, to be honest with you, but he got snubbed by Aaron Rodgers and had to settle for just, the most passing yards of his entire career at the age of 44, as you do. But the highlight of the season was Week 4, where Tom Brady would finally make his triumphant return to Gillette Stadium to play against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. And fate is just a weird thing sometimes, isn't it? Because of all teams, literally of all 30 other NFL teams, other than the Patriots and Buccaneers, Tom Brady broke the all-time passing record versus the New England Patriots. And he closed out that game as he always does. And, I don't know, almost gave Bill Belichick a handshake, but no, they were beefing at this point. There was also that small moment where Antonio Brown fucking lost his mind and ran off the field shirtless, even though they came back and won the game, but that won't matter at all, surely. Because with time to gel, this Buccaneers team was arguably better than last year in a lot of ways, and they went into the playoffs with expectations to dominate as usual. And yeah, they did. Versus Philly, Tom didn't even have to lift a finger, and they blew out a young Jalen Hurts. But then, Tom Brady and the Bucs had to play against a tortured soul who had recently escaped his abuser in Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. And what ensued was, again, one of the greatest playoff games of all time. And you know, that's just what I miss the most about Tom, man. It's selfish, I guess, but just the pure entertainment he brought to my life alone, I'm just grateful, man. I'm just grateful I have so many memories watching him pull off these crazy comebacks. And, you know, as the great, like, Pete Weber once said, you know,
hate me or love me, you watched. That's all you could do.
You still watched. You tuned in and you watched. And that's what I did, man. I didn't always like Tom Brady, but it was always fun. And this game versus the Rams is another one of those games where I just had an amazing time, and I remember exactly where I was when this game happened. First of all, the Rams were just laying the meat down on Tampa Bay. LA was up 27-3, just 1 point off of the holy number, but Tom Brady and the Bucs almost did it again. The Rams almost turned into the Falcons. It was just a wild game. The Bucs were coming back. Then Brady fumbled, then right after that, the Rams botched their snap, and Tampa got it back after they got stopped, and Mike Evans scored to make it just a 7-point game. This was pure fucking cinema, and all the pressure was on the Rams to get a first down and move the chains, and then the Rams fumbled. Oh my god, it's happening. Tom Brady's doing it again. It's 28-3 all over again, and it was all according to plan. The script was writing itself, and on 4th down and 1, game on the line, Lenny ran it in for a touchdown. Tie game. 27 all. But then, with 40 seconds and no timeouts, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp showed why they were the best 1-2 punch in the league this year, and Kupp made 2 insane grabs in a row. Stafford clocked it, and the Rams kicked a walk-off game-winning field goal. And the Rams would go on to win the Super Bowl, while Tom Brady would be sent home, perhaps for the final time in his career. And then, he made it official. Tom Brady announced his retirement. The entire NFL world was shook to its core with the news that Tom would never come back. What do you mean he's coming back? What, Tom, you can't scare me like that, man. Shit. But, okay, yeah, Tom Brady announced his retirement and then was like, wait a minute, my life is meaningless without football. Because, although I've obviously never experienced something like that, it's probably like trying to get over an addiction. All he's done for 22 years was play football and be obsessed with becoming the best possible football player to ever play. So when you switch up that lifestyle for even a bit, something just feels off. But this decision did not sit well with his wife. And later Tom Brady and his longtime wife Gisele Bündchen would get a divorce. And you know, it's sad, but the signs seemingly were always there. There have been multiple clips where Tom Brady says football was his first love. And of course, I don't know what was said behind closed doors, but it seems like at one point, the plan, or at least from what I can see in this clip, was for Tom to retire after 2016 and become a full-time husband. But he saw a chance to do something nobody has ever done before, and he chose football, time and time again. But this was a bit too much. Tom thought there was more in the tank, and to be honest with you, he just flew a bit too close to the sun. If I were in his position, would I have made the same decision to come back? No, I don't believe so, but that's not a productive thing to talk about probably. And in 2022, because of his age, now as a 45-year-old and dealing with all this mental tax of losing his wife of a decade plus, he had his worst season of his career, and it was clear it was time to hang him up. So again, I didn't make that clear, but let me just play this clip for you, okay? It's like, I don't know, I was watching all these documentaries and doing all this research, and I like wanted to do a little thing here, but it's honestly really sad to see like these clips of them just like playing with their kids and doing little things like singing happy birthday to them and all that. But just listen to this clip and you can just kind of tell something's a little off. I know Tom is like laughing and all that, and then she goes on to say that football was actually his first love, and Tom is like, yeah, you're right.
He did tell me that he was going to play only for 10 years. I just want to say that. When I met him in 2006, he said, listen, I'm just going to play for 10 more years and I'm going to win 1 Super Bowl and I'm going to be happy. And then I told him last year, I said, well, I think this is great. You know, like what a great win. Now you won 2 Super Bowls. It's the end of the 10th year. Like, you know, now we're going to go and
live in Costa Rica.
And I was like, yoo-hoo, let's go. I'm ready. But then he's like, no.
Still got a few more to go.
Yeah, he said that.
So again, I don't know about this decision, but the 2022 Buccaneers were not a good team, and the defense was still alright, but the offense was cratering. Without Bruce Arians, things were just different. The run game fell off a cliff with Leonard Fournette being completely washed, which forced the 45-year-old man to throw the ball 733 times this season, the most in a single season in NFL history. And finally, his efficiency wasn't what it was throughout his career. He still had a passer rating of 90.7 by year's end, but the team lost its edge, and Tom Brady limped into the playoffs with an 8-9 record after managing to barely win the worst division in football. Not to say there weren't some fun moments, because versus the Saints, we truly got the last vintage Tom Brady moment we'll ever see, as down by 6 points on Monday Night Football with 8 seconds left on 3rd and goal, with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, his two arguably greatest rivals, watching, commentating his game, he found Rachaad White for the game-winning touchdown, giving him his 44th career fourth quarter comeback, an incomprehensible number given how dominant most of his teams already were. He wasn't behind often. He also sadly played his last game against the Falcons ever, but he still retired having 28 career touchdowns versus the Falcons with 3 picks. I'm not even making that up. That is a real stat, I swear. So real funny from the football gods. And so the wild card began, and his opponent would be the Dallas Cowboys, a team that Tom Brady had never lost to in his entire NFL career. Tom was a perfect 7-0 versus them. It was a 100% certainty Tom Brady would beat the Cowboys, but not on this day. And instead, a funeral was held for Tom Brady, and the end of his NFL career had finally come. The Cowboys didn't even make this game close for a second of it. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys defense played a near-perfect game and won it 31-13. And you know, it's kind of a perfect way to bring it full circle, because if you remember, Tom Brady's NFL career started some 23 years prior when he jogged out onto the 31-yard line against the Lions in the 2000 preseason. And now it was all coming to an end, as a few weeks later, Tom Brady filmed a video by himself saying he's done for good this time.
I'm retiring for good.
No comeback would happen, and this time he stood by his word. He almost came back, and I guess anything can still happen. It's 2026, you never know, but on February 1st, 2023, Tom Brady retired from the NFL after 23 seasons in the league. And this was the end of the best player to ever do it, and the best player that will ever do it. And normally I would just, do my little outro and say some inspirational shit, but I just want to just take some time, a few minutes, to just list off the craziest fucking stats and accomplishments from Tom Brady's career, because someone needs to say it, bro. And I've kept too many stats to not include them all. So let's do this, all right? I'm just gonna start ripping them off. Okay, so throughout his career, Tom Brady threw touchdown passes to 98 different players, from Mike Vrabel to Julio Jones to Randy Moss to N'Keal Harry to Kyle Rudolph. 98 different people caught a touchdown from Tom, who set the all-time touchdown record for any player ever, 5 years before he actually retired in 2018, and he now has 649 touchdown passes, nearly 3 times the amount that his idol Joe Montana had. Tom Brady has the most wins by any NFL player ever, and is more than 40 ahead of second place Adam Vinatieri, a kicker who played for 30 years and played his whole career with either Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Andrew Luck, and still Tom won more games. And Brady has a winning or tying record against all 32 NFL teams, with his highest percentage being against, well, I'm sure you can guess it, the New England Patriots at 100%, as well as the Vikings and Buccaneers at 100% too, while his lowest was also, unironically, his favorite team growing up in the 49ers at 50%, and also the Seahawks at 50% as well. To just hammer home how crazy this whole winning thing is, Tom Brady led his team to the Super Bowl 10 out of 21 times in his career, and I'm not counting his rookie season where he didn't really play, and his 2008 season where he was out for the year in week 1. So 47% of the time, when Tom Brady laced him up and was healthy for an entire NFL season, he will lead his team to the Super Bowl nearly 50% of the time. game. And just saying that he played 21 healthy seasons alone is a crazy stat, because throughout his career, the only time Tom Brady ever missed any games were from his ACL injury in 2008. Besides that one season, for 20 years, the only games he missed were from his suspension from Deflategate and his ACL injury. Besides that, no matter how many concussions he may have had, Tom Brady was always available. Now, we all know Tom Brady's longevity is unbelievable, but to put it into some categories, Tom Brady in his 20s had 21,000 yards, 147 touchdowns. He was a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, you know, solid. And then in his 30s, he had 40,000 yards, 309 touchdowns, was a 2-time league MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and a 1-time Super Bowl MVP. Again, pretty fucking incredible. And then in his 40s, he had 23,000 yards, 168 touchdowns, was a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and 2-time Super Bowl MVP, and a 1-time league MVP. The guy had 3 separate Hall of Fame careers. He had more touchdowns and MVPs in his 40s than he did in his 20s. And the guy, of course, owns every single playoff and Super Bowl record that has ever even existed. He is the most passing yards in the playoffs by almost double second place Peyton Manning, the most Super Bowl yards, the most Super Bowl touchdowns, the most playoff wins, the most everything. And no matter the category, if winning is the subject, Tom Brady is number 1 in it. And so, that's the career of the greatest NFL player that will ever play. And I don't know, man, before we go, I really hope that you took something away from this video just for life itself. Now, obviously, I don't believe it's the healthiest thing possible to adopt Tom Brady's mindset 1 of 1, but there's just so many lessons throughout his career that I think are really, really important. Just things like proving people wrong, showing someone that you can do something that you know you can do, overcoming adversity, building discipline, just making the right sacrifices and knowing when to make those sacrifices. All of that, I think, is insanely valuable, and Tom Brady himself knows this too. And before we go, just please, I really implore you to watch the speech that Tom Brady gave, or I found this TikTok edit of the speech that I think it's really just beautiful. So, you know, the TikToks will be in the description. I think it's just everything that embodies Tom Brady's career. And I truly believe that this speech really just encapsulates everything that I love about football. So please give it a listen.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard.
Life is hard, and Tom Brady did what nobody has ever done in life and will ever do in the game of football. So thank you, Tom. Thank you for the beautiful story of a career to look back on. And one thing's for sure, there will never, ever, ever be another Tom Brady. But anyways, this was a crazy video, but if you liked it, then subscribe. I've got a lot of videos on the channel just like this one. And if you did like this video, watch this video I did a while back on the entire, you know, Patriots Dynasty if you want to check that one out. It's pretty good, trust me. And thank you to all my Patreons who pledged tiers and members who did the same. I really appreciate it so much. Truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys keep these videos going, keep me motivated. Thank you for all the nice comments from all of you guys too. I seriously appreciate it so much. But yeah, anyways, thank you for sticking with me on this journey. Till next time.